I had just graduated and was struggling to find a job, so I thought about doing some food delivery to make quick money. I downloaded a delivery app called Transcendent Delivery, but things got weird fast. The app assigned me an employee ID number, 0038, and filled in all my personal details without me doing anything, including my name Yun22 and everything else. I tried to uninstall it, but it wouldn't let me. Then my phone started acting strange, showing a message that I had a delivery order for a girl named Xiaoya who wanted a white bread bun before she died. This was definitely not a normal delivery app. I tried to delete the app, but instead, it told me I was already hired and couldn't quit. It even gave me a warning for not trusting the company and sent a small electric shock through my phone to punish me. Scared, I decided to ask more about this job. The app told me that I had to fulfill delivery requests across different dimensions, and that my first order was already ready with a delivery vehicle waiting outside. I was freaked out but figured I had no choice but to go along with it for now. I couldn't believe this. Was this app really stuck on using the number 0038 for everything? I asked if I could get a different number, but the app said it was automatically generated and couldn't be changed. When I looked out the window, I saw a bright delivery motorcycle with the same number, 0038, on its license plate. It definitely wasn't there before. I figured I might as well try one delivery and see what happens. I asked the app about the payment, and it said I could barter with the recipient. I wasn't thrilled about that since I wanted to get paid up front, but the app assured me that no one could avoid paying them. So, I decided to give it a shot. I grabbed my phone, changed into flat shoes, and headed to the motorcycle. When I checked the cargo box, there was a bag of white buns inside, big enough to fill my hand, probably 10 of them. As I started riding, a route map appeared in front of me. It seemed like a short ride, but I still felt uneasy. I stopped by a place that makes good beef dumplings, bought some, and then continued on the route the app showed me. While I was riding, something weird happened. The surroundings changed, and suddenly I was on a rough mountain road instead of in the city. The tall buildings had disappeared, and all I could see were barren hills. I was confused, but the app screen appeared again, telling me I had entered a different world. It urged me to keep going because the customer was waiting. The road was rough, but the motorcycle moved smoothly without any bumps. I was impressed and even joked about how amazing the bike was. Finally, I reached a cave where the map showed the destination. I was curious and a bit scared, but I called out to see if anyone was there. A weak voice responded, and I felt a bit relieved it was a person, not something dangerous. I found a small, frail girl named Xiaoya inside the cave. She looked like she had been through a lot, and I remembered she wanted to eat a white bun before she died. The app told me to complete the delivery quickly, so I handed her the bun. Seeing her in such a pitiful state made me feel bad, so I asked if she was okay and if she needed help. She asked if I was sent by her parents, but I didn't know what she meant. I quickly ran back to the motorcycle to get the beef dumplings I had bought earlier and brought them to her, hoping it would help. This first delivery was nothing like I expected, and I couldn't shake off the strange feeling about this whole situation. Xiaoya stared at me blankly, but I could see she was relieved not to be alone in her final moments. I didn't think much about it, and carefully helped her sit up against my shoulder. I opened the lid of the soup I brought, telling her to drink some first since the buns were too dry to eat right away. I couldn't help but think this poor girl had no idea how to take care of herself. Xiaoya looked at the soup with bright eyes, amazed that someone was helping her. She called me a fairy, thinking I was some kind of divine being sent to help her. But when I saw how thin and frail she was, it broke my heart. Her skin was practically sticking to her bones. I tried to speak gently, telling her to drink the soup and that better days were ahead. She took a sip, and I could see her eyes light up. The soup was probably the best thing she'd had in a long time. I reminded her to take it slow since she hadn't eaten in days, and she nodded, though she was clearly reluctant to stop drinking. Xiaoya thanked me, calling me a fairy again, but I insisted I was just an ordinary person. The screen in front of me kept flashing, urging me to complete the transaction, but I felt conflicted. How could I ask this poor girl for anything in return when she had nothing? The app kept pushing me, but I angrily yelled at it, saying I didn't care about the payment. Xiaoya was scared and confused, thinking I was upset with her. I quickly reassured her that I wasn't talking to her but to the app. She couldn't see the screen, which made her even more confused. I placed the buns and dumplings in front of her, telling her it was all I could give. I wasn't sure if I'd ever see her again, but I wanted to help as much as I could. The screen finally stopped flashing, and a countdown began, signaling that I needed to leave soon. The app even threatened to leave me in this world if I didn't return on time. I knelt down to say goodbye to Xiaoya, telling her I'd done all I could and that we might meet again someday. She thanked me again, and I hurried out of the cave as the countdown continued. Just as I got on the motorcycle, a bright light surrounded me, and I found myself back in the familiar alley near my rental. Back in my room, I threw the stone I had picked up onto the table and asked the app what it really was. The screen said it was calculating my mission completion, but I wasn't buying it. I threatened to destroy it, but the stone just passed through the virtual screen. The app told me I had completed the transaction and that my payment was already in my hand, though I had no idea what it meant. I was sure this whole thing had to be more than just some charity work. There had to be something bigger going on. Order number 0038 has been perfectly completed. Now the contract is being processed. During the contract, there will be no discomfort. If any abnormalities occur, please check yourself. Yun Tutu was still reeling from the shock, frozen, as a flash of silver light passed through his eyes. The contract has been completed. Please continue to strive for a 5-star rating, 0038. The screen before Yun Tutu disappeared, and a crisp female voice echoed in his mind, enunciating every word as if she were a news anchor. It's nice not having to read the text, Yun Tutu thought, shaking his head. Is now really the time to think about this? Why is the contract only being made now? Didn't you say before that it couldn't be uninstalled? You didn't have my consent when downloading, and now I didn't agree to this darn contract either. If Yun Tutu was curious before, he was unwilling now, having never encountered such aggressive selling. What kind of broken setup is this? I've wasted over an hour here for just a piece of broken stone? Where's the salary, the compensation? You think I'm here to work for free? Even if this sounded very fantastical, he was still struggling to settle into his life. How could he possibly volunteer? The item received in the trade is your compensation. A voice sounded in his ear, 0038, you can clean the stone. Yun Tutu wasn't sure if it was an illusion, but he felt like he was being mocked. Fine, wash it then. Since I've already wasted so much time, a bit more water won't hurt. It's a good chance to wash my hands. As soon as his hands touched the faucet, Yun Tutu's eyes widened. You darn thing. You just took me to another dimension. Could you have brought back some unknown virus? Although he was just an ordinary citizen, he loved his homeland and was considering hiding at home for a while to make sure everything was safe. At the same time, he was relieved that he hadn't come into contact with anyone else when he entered, hoping that nothing would go wrong. All unknown bacteria and viruses will be thoroughly cleaned up the moment you cross the border. Please complete your tasks with confidence. Don't call me 0038. What are you then? Yun Tutu washed his hands and casually cleaned the stone he had picked up, planning to keep it as a souvenir if it turned out to be worthless. Customer service for 0038 at your service. The same work number for customer service? Of course, we each serve one. I'm not the only employee, am I? Yun Tutu kept washing the stone, feeling something was off, bending down to grab the brush he used for cleaning shoes, and continued scrubbing. Silence filled his ears. Yun Tutu stopped his actions. I guessed right, didn't I? Of course not. The tone was a bit sheepish. Because of a temporary loss of connection, I will connect eventually. Yun Tutu suddenly screamed. Gold? Gold? Is it gold? After some cleaning, the corner of the stone, originally covered in mud, was now gleaming with gold. To correct that, this is naturally produced, impure, large-grained, irregularly shaped gold, known as nugget gold, typically comprised of native gold, quartz, and other minerals, commonly called dog head gold here. Yun Tutu held the stone and examined it. Although not large, it felt heavy, surely weighing a pound or two. Even if he lacked common sense, he had heard of dog head gold, a favorite among many collectors. This piece was a real find. Clearing his throat, he asked, You said earlier that this is my compensation. No backing out? Unexpectedly, the stone he had casually picked up in the cave turned out to be a treasure. Of course not, the voice replied disdainfully. Keep these things if they are useful to you. Just continue taking orders well. What are you after? Yun Tutu clutched the dog-head gold, determined to clear things up today. You're still smart. You don't need to know about my origins. Just understand that if you keep taking orders, everyone benefits. How do I know you're not affecting me or this place? Yun Tutu, now that his brush couldn't completely clean the stone, simply stopped washing, wiped his hands, and sat down on the bed again. Don't ask why he always sits on the bed. If you ask, it's because he's poor. In this room, besides a few wooden stools, only the bed is soft. Don't worry, we're just partners. It won't have any bad effects on you. I'm highly civilized. Since we've signed a contract, we won't allow any breaches. Ghosts. This so-called contract, I haven't even seen it. Yun Tutu spoke again in annoyance, and you can peek into my mind, but I know nothing about you. I've already helped you close the silent contract channel. The cross-border flash delivery continued. Every time you complete an order, I can gain some energy, and you can also make a profit from it. It's a win-win situation. I've checked your network. For someone like you just starting out in society, there aren't many options to support yourself. You're right, but could these orders affect me? People are selfish, and now that Yun Tutu had calmed down, he was a bit frightened. This time it was a harmless refugee girl, but what if next time he encountered a strange and dangerous world? Don't worry, 0038, you're now a courier across time and space. You'll definitely be given certain benefits, no matter which dimension. It won't cause you any harm. The new contract partner was very cautious, eager to collect more energy quickly, so cross-border flash delivery started to explain these services in detail. We provide services for demanders across thousands of worlds. The payment is tenfold and above. Isn't your wish to achieve financial freedom? Just join, work hard, and you can achieve this. Is this some capitalist brainwashing speech you've watched? Yun Tutu was quite tempted, but the motivational words that followed woke him up. I've seen a bit, after all. I had to learn your language. In order not to become an exploited party, Yun Tutu earnestly said, watch less of that stuff in the future. It's all dregs here. Can I take this thing out and exchange it for money? Yun Tutu looked at the dog-head gold in his hand and remembered another question. Then can I still see that Xiaoya? That's uncertain. If she places an order and I detect her strong desire, then there's still a chance. As for the items you've obtained, I will provide you with a suitable source, so rest assured and go ahead and cash it in. I can't always call you cross-border flash delivery or 0038 customer service. Do you have a name? No, the title is just a code. Please don't mind it. 0038. Yun Tutu's voice squeezed through his teeth. I mind a lot. Yun Tutu, didn't you say you didn't know if there were other employees? Why did you assign me the employee number 0038? This is automatically generated. Yuejia Shansong also expressed his helplessness. This was really not intentional. He couldn't contact the god of creation now, so he could only save more energy. The girls in this dimension didn't seem to like some of the number combinations. Then we can call each other in private. Yun Tutu made a decision immediately. Okay, then you call me Tutu, and I'll call you Song Song from now on. Big Ear Tutu? How can this be better than 0038? Yun Tutu really loves and hates this name. She has heard such ridicule many times. You can also call me Sister Yun. Then it's still Tutu. She has been in the world for tens of thousands of years. How can she call this little cub sister? Will you also provide the items they need in the future? Yun Tutu thought of the bag of steamed bread he saw before, and the takeaway truck that appeared out of nowhere in the yard outside, and had 1,000 whys in his mind. Of course it's impossible. This means of transportation can be provided and upgraded. Tutu, keep working hard, and there will be endless surprises in the future. Don't make a big fuss for me here, or answer my question first. Where did the steamed buns come from? Of course it was deducted from your bank card, Song Song said without any psychological burden. You get all the rewards, and of course you have to pay the capital. You touched my deposit? Yun Tutu quickly took out his mobile phone. The original amount was 1803.73, and one deduction had been completed. Now there was only 1,783.73 left. No wonder the steamed buns were so big. It turned out to be 2 yuan each. You won't cause any supernatural events, will you? Yun Tutu opened the cross-border flash delivery on his mobile phone, and it was still the same few interfaces. He felt more and more that this thing was really unreliable. After all, things disappear out of thin air and appear out of thin air. What if it causes panic? Of course it's impossible. You have to believe in the strength of our company. Song Song said again. No matter what, it is omnipotent. Today is the novice period. Song Song just received the energy ball that appeared in the void. A stream of light flew over and sank into Yun Tutu's body, but she didn't feel anything. Yun Tutu suddenly heard a hiccup. Are you stealing something? Song Song. The energy I just collected has arrived. It's quite pure. You are not collecting things from Xiaoya, are you? The little girl is already so miserable. Don't worry, the little girl is fine now. She has eaten and drunk enough. The voice in the mind chuckled. But you? Your stomach is already rumbling. Then you are really just collecting that energy. Yun Tutu licked his lips and covered his stomach. He gave the dumplings he bought to Xiaoya. He didn't eat anything all day. No wonder he was hungry. Go and fill your stomach. I'm sure and guarantee that it won't affect you or the customers. Song Song's voice couldn't help but get a few notes higher. He had already said so much. Why couldn't they trust each other more? She thought so and said so, but she got Yun Tutu's contempt. You only know how to use the internet, but don't know the essence. We have a trust crisis here for a long time, especially between the boss and the employees. There is no such thing as heart-to-heart communication. Looking at the time, it was past 4 o'clock, not too early or too late. I remember there was a fried chicken restaurant nearby. I thought it was too expensive before, so I didn't want to buy it. Today I got such a nugget of gold, so I have to spend it. How many orders will you take every day in the future? He didn't forget to communicate with Song Song in his heart while walking. There may not be orders every day. Song Song would have rolled his eyes if he hadn't been in human form, thinking that it was so easy to collect wishes from all walks of life. Just wait for the notification. Yun Tutu asked questions one after another, and in the end, Song Song simply shut up and didn't answer, so Yun Tutu stopped pestering him. Song Song breathed a sigh of relief. What on earth was this contract for? He was not very old, but he had a lot of questions. After eating and drinking, Yun Tutu of course wanted to cash in the gold nuggets in his hand as soon as possible. I remember that there is an antique street not far from here. I think there will be many collectors there. After calculating the distance, Yun Tutu scanned a shared bicycle and rode slowly along the sidewalk. The antique street is not a popular tourist attraction. Only occasionally people would come to take a look out of curiosity. There were only a few pedestrians on the 2 rows of quaint streets. Yun Tutu walked and looked until she saw a 2-story building with a simple and elegant decoration. Yun Tutu said she couldn't understand the name of the store, but she knew it was in small seal script. Out of a girl's intuition, Yun Tutu walked in. As soon as she stood at the door, she wanted to retreat. A middle-aged man wearing a Zhongshan suit, with his hair combed meticulously and a sense of age, was walking out with a few flat-headed guys. Seeing her come in, all eyes were focused on her, especially the dark-haired guy next to the middle-aged man, whose eyes were particularly sharp. It would seem a bit deliberate to leave at this time. Yun Tutu forced a smile and quickly stepped aside. She was not used to being stared at by so many people. Yawan, I have a customer here, so I won't see you off. Shin Shirgang looked at Yun Tutu with a smile. Next time you pass by, remember to come and have a cup of tea. Zhang Yawan glanced at Yun Tutu and asked the brothers behind him to get on the car with their things. Then he looked at Shin Shirgang. Uncle Shin, you were too polite. I am sorry for you this time. I hope we will have a chance to cooperate again next time. After saying that, he turned around and left. Before leaving, he took another curious look at Yun Tutu. At this age, he also came to the antique shop. I hope Shin Shirgang is not too mean. However, people are curious when they go out into the society. It is reasonable to pay some tuition fees. It is a personal choice. Shin Shirgang straightened his Zhongshan suit and greeted Yun Tutu with a smile. Welcome, girl. If you like anything, just tell me and I'll take it out for you to appreciate. He did not treat Yun Tutu differently because of the ordinary clothes she was wearing. In their line of work, all kinds of people have seen her clothes. He once collected a valuable item, which later became one of the treasures of his store. That item was collected from a ragged man. The decoration of the store as soon as you enter is consistent with that of the outside. It is all retro and old, with exquisite old-fashioned cabinets and exquisitely carved tables and chairs. It already has a heavy antique feel, not to mention the various bottles and jars placed on the shelves inside the counter. Even if she doesn't know much about the goods, she can't help but lighten her steps. Who knows if there are any priceless antiques in here? If they are damaged, even if she sells them, she may not be able to afford the loss. Yun Tutu looked around the shop and looked at Shin Shurgang curiously. "Excuse me, are you the boss? Isn't it too careless to be alone in such a big shop?" The daily update time is around 6 o'clock in the morning unless otherwise specified. Those who want to follow the book should remember the time and make a collection to avoid getting lost. Shin Shurgang was stunned for a moment and looked sideways at the figure reflected in the mirror under the antique clock. It seemed that he was overdressed today, a bit like a shopkeeper. "I'm the boss." Shin Shurgang was a little curious. What is this girl doing here? People who come here are either selling goods or receiving goods. Of course, there are also people who come here to hand in resumes. I don't know which type this girl is. Yun Tutu smiled shyly. "I have something here, and I don't know if the boss is interested." Shin Shurgang raised his standard smile. He likes this kind of business. Many of the collections here are his favorites. If it weren't for supporting this family business, he would not be willing to put them out. So here, selling goods is more popular with him than buying goods. "Let's talk inside." Shin Shurgang led the people to the counter. "Can I see the things first?" Yun Tutu took out a large ball of paper from the bag. Such a casual attitude made Shin Shurgang frown slightly. Now he hoped that there was no rare treasure inside. Otherwise, it would be unfair to be treated like this. Yun Tutu peeled off the layers of paper and said to Shin Shurgang apologetically, "I'm really sorry. This thing is a bit dirty, so I took a few more layers of paper to wrap it." Shin Shurgang stared at the ball of paper without blinking and did not speak. He was very curious about what was inside. As the paper ball was peeled off, what appeared in front of him was a stone with mud, and the innermost layer of paper was wrapped in a layer of mud. Looking up at Yun Tutu, she was a normal girl. She was not making fun of herself, was she? Yun Tutu felt a little embarrassed when she saw this. "I just cleaned it briefly before, but there was a lot of dirt on it." Yun Tutu showed the small part that had been washed out before in front of Shin Shurgang, and then carefully observed Shin Shurgang's expression. She found that he was very surprised, and then she breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that he had an expression, which meant that he liked it. Shin Shurgang did not touch it immediately, but took out a magnifying glass from the cabinet to look at it carefully. "Do you know what this is?" "This is a gold nugget." Song Song would not lie to her, and she also checked it specially when she was having dinner just now. "This head is not small, but it has not been completely cleaned yet." Shin Shurgang observed it carefully, then picked it up and weighed it carefully in his hand. Yun Tutu was a little shy. "I used a brush before, but these bumps are difficult to clean, and the mud is particularly hard. Do you mind if I do it myself?" Shin Shurgang asked Yun Tutu. It seems that he has found a treasure today, and an old guy was asking about it a few days ago. Of course, Yun Tutu is now just thinking about whether this thing can be cashed in as soon as possible. Otherwise, if the next order is for more expensive items, she may not be able to pay for it. Shin Shurgang pressed the button on the side of the counter, and soon a young man came running from the backyard. "Dad, send the guests away." Shanine, who came in jogging, glanced at Yun Tutu and didn't care. Instead, he stared at the stone in Shin Shurgang's hand. "What is this?" "You stay here and watch the shop. I'll go to the back to clean it up." The things were not cleaned out, and Shin Shurgang didn't explain much to him. He directly called Yun Tutu to go in. He has quite a complete set of equipment here, and there are also professional cleaning tools. In less than half an hour, the true face of the gold nugget was revealed. "Young girl, what do you think this looks like?" In the past half hour, they didn't just work, they also communicated a lot in the middle, and even the way they addressed each other changed. As for what Yun Tutu said, that she picked up the stone on the mountain, Shin Shurgang did not ask too much. because he still understood the saying of knowing when to stop. Isn't it just a gold nugget? Yun Tutu looked at it again and again, but could not appreciate it. Shin Shurgang placed the gold nugget on the platform. From this angle, does it look like a curled-up bear? Now that you mention it, it seems to be a bit like that, like a bear hibernating. That's right, Shun Shurgang was very excited. This gold nugget with the shape has greater collection value and is worth a lot more. Are you going to sell it, or keep it for your own collection? Shin Shurgang asked expectantly. If you want to sell it, I can give you a suitable price and I will definitely not cheat you. I wonder how much Boss Shun can offer. Finally getting to the point, Yun Tutu was a little excited. She had checked the price of the gold nugget, and Boss Shun had just weighed it. After thoroughly cleaning it, there were still 659.7 grams, which was not a small amount. She picked it up casually at the time, just wanting to use it as a weapon, but she didn't expect it to be her first pot of gold. She rubbed her hands, feeling a little proud inside. Did she turn stone into gold? Look, yours is of good weight, and it's also quite stylish. A collector also encountered such a piece before, and he paid 300,000 at that time. Shin Shurgang looked at Yun Tutu expressionlessly and hurriedly said, but that was many years ago, and it is definitely not this price now. How about you tell me your price? If it's suitable, we can discuss it later. I don't really understand this either. How about you tell me a price? I'll sell it to you if I think it's suitable. Yun Tutu pushed the question back. Shin Shurgang smiled, not caring about her little calculations, and even admired the girl. It can be seen that she was pretending to be calm, but she could still deal with it so calmly. I won't hide it from you. In recent years, the collection value of dog-head gold, especially natural gold like yours, is much higher. How about this? I'll offer 500,000. If it's suitable, you can keep it. This is also the greatest sincerity he can give. Anyway, this is what he has noticed for the old man, and he is not prepared to make money. The old man lacks everything, but not money. Yun Tutu had checked before coming here. The previous transaction price of nugget gold of similar weight was no more than 300,000 or 400,000. This boss really didn't brag about himself. Okay, Yun Tutu suppressed her excitement. That was 500,000. When had she ever seen so much money before? The transaction was very quick. When Yun Tutu walked out of the shop again, there were a few more digits on the balance of her mobile phone. Her original savings seemed so insignificant. Song, I suddenly feel that such a transaction can be done. Yun Tutu called Yuaja Shunsong. Can I still go to the dimension of refugee Xiaoya? I'm getting a great deal. Her life is so difficult. Not at the moment. We haven't received such a wish for the time being. Song was silent for so long, and finally responded to her. If I hadn't picked up the stone, what would the other party have given me as a reward? Yun Tutu thought that he had really found a treasure by accident and couldn't help but feel a little curious. An ancient copper coin, Song was also a little surprised at the good luck of this new contractor. If he had brought back the ancient copper coin, it would have been worth only a few $1,000s. Yun Tutu stroked her chin, thinking in her heart that if a stone picked up randomly from this cave is so valuable, then is it? Thinking so, she asked, but got a sneer from Song. How is this possible? This stone is the only valuable stone in the cave, and you are just lucky to have picked it up. Yun Tutu, I am greedy, but this is a windfall. I have to have a good meal. Today's supper is set. I have to order a lobster and barbecue. Oh, and I have to buy myself some clothes. In order to save some money on clothing after graduation, she tried to buy professional clothes in the year before graduation, but in the future, she will run takeout and ride a motorcycle, so she will focus on being relaxed and comfortable. By the way, Song, do we have uniform work clothes? Yun Tutu asked, thinking that every penny saved was a penny earned. Tutu, what kind of work clothes do you want? Wear a vest like the other takeouts. It seems that they can provide it. Yun Tutu quickly shook her head. Forget it. I'll buy it myself. This place is still some distance away from the shopping mall, and she also wants to have a midnight snack near the school. It might be a little late, and she is afraid that it will be difficult to catch a bus when she comes back. So Yun Tutu simply returns to the yard and rides her motorcycle to her destination. She parked the car in the parking lot in front of the mall, packed a few sets of the casual brand that she wanted to buy a long time ago, and walked out with satisfaction. Just after putting the clothes in the box, she heard someone calling her name, and there was a hint of excitement. Yun Tutu, it's really you. The other party came very quickly, almost embarrassed her. Li Yuehua? Yun Tutu didn't expect to meet her here. This person has always been at odds with her. There is no grudge between them, but this person always likes to be weird. Her personality is not the kind of person who will suffer a loss. After the two of them have confronted each other a few times, there is a vague state of opposition. It's me. I heard that you have been looking for a lot of jobs but couldn't find one. I was thinking about whether I can introduce you to one. Looking at you like this, I don't think it's necessary. Li Yuehua spoke with ill intentions and a hint of contempt in her tone. So what if he studies better than me in school? So what if the professor and teaching assistant praise him a few times? His job is still not as decent as mine. I heard you found a sales job. How's it going? Have you been hired as a permanent employee? Yun Tutu raised her eyebrows and looked at her. She was just a trial worker in a luxury store, and it was still unclear whether she could be hired as a permanent employee. I don't know where she got her sense of superiority from. She hasn't even been hired as a permanent employee yet, but she keeps making noises in the group. But she has been jumping around in the group for nearly a month, so she should know the results soon. Li Yuehua straightened her chest and said, Our store is full of wealthy families. They all have a good impression of me and give me high praise. Our store manager said that I will be made a regular employee after this month. It's a pity that our store rarely recruits people, otherwise I would really like to help you. By the way, you don't know the salary there, right? After becoming a regular employee, you can get more than 10,000 yuan per month, and there are various commissions. Li Yuehua was waiting for Zhang Tutu to show an envious expression, but he just smiled coldly and said, That's great, but it's not necessary. I found a job here. Li Yuehua covered her mouth and pointed at the motorcycle parked there laughed. You're not talking about this job, are you? You're not one of those male classmates. Why would a girl like you be a delivery boy? As an old classmate, I'm giving you a piece of advice. If you keep going out in the sun and wind like this, your pretty face will be ruined in less than a month. The most important thing for us girls is our face. If it gets tanned, it will be harder to find a partner in the future. If you can't stay in this city, go back and let your family find you a partner as soon as possible. Being a housewife and mother is also a good career. It's better than being out here in the sun and wind and earning some hard-earned money. I think my job is pretty good. After all, I earn my living with my own hands. There were also several takeaway motorcycles parked nearby. Li Yuehua's loud voice just now attracted several unfriendly looks. But I do want to give you a piece of advice. You have to stick to your heart when you work as a salesperson in a luxury store. Don't be blinded by it. Of course, the two of them parted unhappily. Yun Tutu also thought that the matter was over. He happily went to a store with good reviews and packed up some flavored shrimp and barbecue. When he was about to get home, he didn't forget to buy 2 bottles of beer. After packing everything up and preparing to feast, his cell phone rang at this time. Tutu, what's wrong with you? Why are you so desperate that you want to deliver food? Fong Wei's loud voice came from the phone, frightening Yun Tutu so much that she quickly put the phone away. How did you know I was delivering food? Yun Tutu was a little surprised. She didn't seem to tell anyone. She slapped her forehead. No, there was another person. As expected, that woman was too talkative. This matter became known to everyone. If I remember correctly, Fong Wei was thousands of miles away. How should I know? It was Li Yuehua. She took a photo of you delivering food. Didn't you check the group today? I checked it. I checked it at noon. Yun Tutu put the phone on speaker and quickly opened the group. As a result, he found that he didn't know how many floors had been built. He clicked on the item that he hadn't viewed and scrolled down. Sure enough, he saw the photo of himself carrying a few bags and putting them in the delivery cart. I was buying clothes in the mall at that time, and I didn't expect to run into her. I'm doing express delivery now, and this photo of her is correct. Fong Wei is his best friend and also his roommate. It's just that she went back to take the civil service exam after graduation, otherwise she wouldn't be here alone. Why did you think of sending a flash delivery? I told you to come back and take the civil service exam together. You are smarter than me and have more opportunities than me. Fong Wei was furious on the other end of the phone. Why do you have to be a migrant worker in Beijing if you don't come back? At least you have a house to live in and a hot meal to eat at home, but you have to do everything by yourself there. After more than 10 years of friendship, she sometimes really couldn't understand what Yun Tutu was thinking. Big cities are good, but they are not suitable for everyone. I have studied for so many years, and I also want to prove myself. You know our old community. It's annoying to go back and have people pointing fingers at me. Yun Tutu, would be afraid of these. Fang Wei didn't believe it at all. Although Yun Tutu was usually a delicate person, if she was really provoked, it was not certain who would suffer. Yun Tutu couldn't resist the temptation and quickly put on disposable gloves and started to peel shrimps. That's because you haven't seen the fighting power of those aunties and mothers. I'm afraid I can't help but have a big fight with them every 3 days and a small fight every day. Then my family will be in trouble. Fang Wei really didn't understand this aspect. Their family lived in a commercial house, and they didn't even know all the neighbors. I've been to your house before, and it seemed pretty good. Everyone looked kind. Yun Tutu pouted. I didn't say they were bad. It's just that they can't control their mouths, and I can't control my temper. Our place is not big, and there are only a few positions in the civil service exam every year. To be honest, I don't have much confidence. Fang Wei had such confidence because her family had some capital and could do some work. So what if she passed the exam? That's it. There was a silence from the other side, and after a long time, the other party said, then you should do this for a while, and don't forget to look for other jobs. After all, this line of work is not a long-term solution. Do you have enough money now? I'm living and eating at home now, and I can't use the little savings. Yun Tutu, sister, you really don't have to worry about me. My income is still okay now. Do you know what I'm doing now? Grilled crayfish with cold beer. Are you sure you're not hiding in the corner eating dry bread? Fang Wei obviously didn't believe it. How could a person who used to be stingy suddenly become so generous? Could it be that the delivery job really has such a high salary as people say outside? Fang Wei shook her head quickly. If that were the case, the girl would definitely be even more reluctant to give it up. After all, it was all earned with hard work. How about you make a video call? Seeing is believing, Yun Tutu said as he was distracted and looked through the messages in the group. There were many people who were happy about the misfortune, but there were also a few who spoke up for justice. Zhang Jian was going crazy in the group, and she beat everyone she caught back. What's wrong with delivering food? Do people earn their own money to eat your food, or do they use yours? Do they have to say sarcastic words here? You are just a counter lady, not a worker. How do you think you are more noble than others? What's wrong with delivering food? I dare say that most people here are not paid as much as those who deliver food. Where do you feel superior? In the meantime, Zhang Mingna was also seen helping. It's fine if the classmates don't help each other. Why bother talking about others? Let me ask, have all of our classmates found jobs? Everyone, how much is the salary? You keep saying we're classmates, but you just got out of school and you're already kicking me when I'm down. You have so much free time. During this time, Yun Tutu saw a few classmates speaking up for him. He blinked. I didn't expect that I have such good relationships with people. So many people are speaking up for me. Okay, stop being narcissistic here, Fang Wei said unhappily. After all, there are not many people with the quality of Li Yuehua. Most people have a positive outlook on life. Look at those who are dancing happily. They usually hang out in groups in school. The two talked for a while before hanging up, but the phone kept ringing as if it was lined up. Yun Tutu was answering calls for the next hour. Some people called to show their concern, and some people tried to help her change jobs. After dealing with all this, the crayfish got cold, and the grilled food didn't taste good. She couldn't bear to throw it away, so she just forced herself to eat it. After washing up, she lay on the bed, touching her belly, and didn't want to look through the meaningless messages on her phone. Yun Tutu continued to pester her. What do you think will happen to Xiaoya after we leave? She's a refugee, so can she survive this disaster? Thinking of that little girl, Yun Tutu once again regretted why he didn't pack more things before. With those steamed buns and the dumplings and soup you gave her, her life is not in danger. Song Song knew that if he didn't answer her today, she would definitely be in trouble. He checked the information and found that girls were quite scary when they were stubborn. The mountain road they fled through is quite remote. Normally, no one would pass by. But in 2 days, hunters who go into the mountains to hunt will find her, and she will have a place to stay in the future. How do you know? Do you have the ability to foresee the future? Yun Tutu's eyes sparkled. It was really too much to cross the line to send Song Song. He could even predict it. That's impossible, Song Song replied quickly. The plane we contacted before was a small world in a book. So it's a book? Yun Tutu jumped up from the bed. Those are all illusory things. Won't my gold nugget also become illusory? Isn't this pitfall for Boss Shen? Of course that's impossible. The 3,000 big worlds and the thousands of small worlds are real, and the items inside are also like what you have now. They are real. Yun Tutu fell back, patted his chest, and said thankfully, if that's true, that's good. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll wake up one night and get a pair of silver bracelets for nothing. Are you dreaming? Song Song was confused. How can pie fall from the sky? Yun Tutu waved his hands helplessly. You don't understand all this. I was just a metaphor. Can't you connect to the internet? Or why don't you check it? Song Song, that I told you everything, but you just ignored everything? I've never seen anyone who would do that. Yun Tutu, that can't be helped. I'm just an ordinary person after all. My brain capacity is limited. I can't give a detailed answer. Song Song's voice of agreement rang. Indeed, my brain capacity is a bit low. I still have to improve it when I have the chance in the future. Yun Tutu quickly wrapped herself in a quilt, looking defensively at the void. The previous screen had long disappeared, but she had an illusion that Song Song was still there looking at her. Song Song, who could see through her inner thoughts, rolled his eyes speechlessly in the void. This Yun Tutu not only has a lot of things to do and problems, but also suffers from paranoia. Think about it. We will travel through various dimensions in the future. Do you think it is possible to find a way to improve your brain? So that's it. Yun Tutu breathed a sigh of relief. I think my brain is pretty good. By the way, there is one more thing we have to agree on in advance. Can you discuss it with me next time you deduct money from me? Tutu, you can also buy it yourself. Song Song is still easy to talk to in this regard, as long as Yun Tutu works hard. You said there are so many people in this world. Why did you choose me? At worst, there are thousands of parallel worlds. This is what you call fate. Its energy is almost exhausted, but the only one who is more suitable is Yun Tutu. There is no choice at all. However, this matter cannot be told, so as not to hit the fragile heart of this human girl. If it strikes again, then its only employee will be gone. Haha, I'll be crazy if I believe you. Yun Tutu looked at the moonlight shining in from outside. Send it off. You won't hurt me in the future, right? Here it comes again. Here it comes again. It is a product of civilization, not a spiritual soothsayer. These questions, one after another, are almost making it collapse. God of creation, if I give it another chance, it will definitely hold on tightly and will never get separated from God of creation. Where will the next order go? Can you give me a hint? Song Song, why don't you talk? Do you also need to sleep? Yun Tutu asked several more questions in a row, and when he was sure that Song Song would not answer again, he raised his lips maliciously. Haha, I only know how Baidu handles the difficulties of girls, but I don't know that they also have the species of naughty children. Why should I learn about them first? Yawning, I got some of the information I wanted, and I have to proceed step by step. When she woke up, Yun Tutu was still in a daze. It took her a while to come back to her senses. She didn't have to go out to look for a job today. She shook her head and was about to go back to sleep for a while, but she couldn't fall asleep. She still felt a little unreal. Could everything that happened yesterday be a dream? Send it away. Yun Tutu called Yuejia Shunsong. If there was no answer, it meant that everything was fake. I'm here, Tutu. Yun Tutu rolled her eyes in an inelegant manner. She woke up from the dream. This was the real thing. No orders today. Since this will be her future career, she has to become a qualified worker. The main reason is that the profit from the nugget gold yesterday was so good. Who can refuse it? I will contact you if there is a delivery mission, Song Song said, and then stopped talking. This Yun Tutu was really cunning, and I almost treated it as an encyclopedia. That means today is a day to waste. Although a little disappointed, Yun Tutu soon became happy. She earned so much in one day yesterday. Even if it was a year of waste, she was willing. She got up, washed up, and simply tidied the house, and then prepared to go out and reward herself and have 2 more servings of beef dumplings that she didn't eat yesterday. As soon as I walked out the door humming a song, I ran into the landlady who was coming down from the building to throw away the garbage. When she saw Yun Tutu, she said very kindly, "Xiao Yun, why are you up so early today? Is the car parked in the yard yours?" She pointed to the delivery motorcycle parked there. Although she didn't know which company it was from and there was no specific pattern, the delivery box behind it was too conspicuous. "Yes, Auntie, can I park here?" Yun Tutu also answered with a smile. She didn't think about moving for the time being. Although this urban village is a mixed bag, it is well managed by the people. There are people patrolling here day and night. The landlady looked at Yun Tutu with a complicated expression and then smiled and said, "Of course you can park here. Don't worry, here you can park wherever you want as long as you don't affect other people's travel." It's a pity that such a fair and pretty girl also had to deliver takeout. I haven't gone out to work for a while. I don't know if society is so competitive now. Thinking of my 2 children who are still in school, I can't help but hug my arms, and suddenly I feel a little cold. "Yes, did the girl who lived with you before move away?" The landlady remembered what the neighbor said to her and asked curiously. "Well, she found a job and it's a bit far from here. I used to share a house with my classmates, but she moved away." "Then will you continue to rent this house?" The landlady thought that this was not right and quickly explained, "I am not urging you to pay the rent. If you are not convenient, you can pay later." They moved in on the 28th. The landlady was very nice and simply set the rent payment date on the 1st. Today happened to be the 1st. I will pay the rent for next month first. The house where Yun Tutu lives now was converted from the original garage by the landlord. Living here, she has an extra yard, and the rent is cheap. She is reluctant to help them leave for the time being. The landlady felt a little embarrassed when she heard her say this. She really didn't mean it and was not here to urge the rent. It's not easy for the little girl to be out there alone. She has 2 children of her own, and she's afraid that her children will also encounter these problems, so she can't help but take care of them more. That's really not urgent. By the way, have you started working? Just deliver food. At least I can support myself first. Well, not yet. Yun Tutu operated on the phone. "Auntie, I've transferred the rent to you." The landlady. "Okay, thank you. You go ahead and do your work. We'll talk when we have time." She always felt a little embarrassed. It was just a coincidence today. She really didn't want to pursue a girl so closely. Forget it. She would tell the patrol team later and ask them to keep an eye on this place. Yun Tutu didn't know about these things. It was normal to pay rent for a house. You have a flash delivery order. Lu Ziki from Pingyang Marquee Mansion urgently needs a concealer. Should she buy it by herself, or should our company automatically deliver it? Is there an order so soon? Yun Tutu touched her stomach. Can we not choose the time of meal? Well, can I prepare some more things in the box? Yun Tutu thought of the dumplings and noodle soup she brought yesterday. Suddenly, she had an idea. The other party needed cosmetics. Could she extend the business? As long as the transaction is completed normally, no one else will interfere. This is good. It seems that this is an ancient dimension. This woman can't resist cosmetics. Then I will go shopping by myself. Yun Tutu immediately made a decision. She would be much faster if she rode a motorcycle on the small road, and she could get to the mall in a very short time. Song Song didn't say anything more. Today's order has a longer time limit, and it can be completed before dark in the afternoon. Yun Tutu parked the car at the entrance of the mall and ran directly to the cosmetics counter on the 1st floor. Pingyang Marquee Mansion is obviously a place of power and nobility, so ordinary things are not worth buying. Anyway, the profit is 10 times or more, so she has to think about how to make the most profit. She walked to the brands that she wanted to buy but didn't dare to buy before, and without the introduction of the salesgirl, she ordered a whole set of cosmetics and some skincare products. Thinking that they can cover blemishes, she also asked for some acne cream and concealer. "I need it urgently. Please help me check out as soon as possible." Yun Tutu urged the salesgirl when she saw that she was still standing there stupidly. It was the first time that the salesgirl saw someone buy things so quickly, without anyone pushing or introducing, just ordering the goods directly. Now hearing this urging, she came to her senses and quickly called the salesgirl next to her to help. One person made the order, and the other person picked the goods. Yun Tutu looked at the whole row of lipsticks in front of her and couldn't help but pursing her lips. She usually doesn't wear much makeup, but lipstick is a must. Yun Tutu is also a girl, so she naturally loves beauty. How could she resist these temptations? Anyway, the money is earned to be spent, so she immediately waved her hand and equipped herself with a complete set and asked for several tubes of lipstick. The saleswoman next door was very perceptive. Seeing Yun Tutu waiting for the bill to be opened and checkout, she hurried over to promote, "Madam, we have several perfumes here recently. Would you like to try them?" Perfume? Yun Tutu said that she had never come into contact with it in her life. The most she would do was to spray herself with floral water in the hot summer. Everyone wants to be a sophisticated girl. Perfume can make one's mood more cheerful and at the same time show one's own taste. How about setting a precedent for oneself today? After the counter here counted the goods and the bill, she bought a few more bottles of perfume. Yun Tutu still felt a little distressed after spending nearly 50,000 yuan so lavishly for the first time. But since she had already bought everything, she still had to find a way to earn the money back. She had to work hard to earn money as she ran out with the things. All these things, plus the gift boxes, took up a lot of weight, but the trunk looked small, but it could actually hold all these things, and there seemed to be some left. Song Song, what's going on? Riding on the motorcycle, Yun Tutu began to call Song Song. How can the configuration of our company be compared with those ordinary motorcycles? Didn't you notice that this motorcycle does not need to be refueled or cleaned? Song Song's tone was a little proud, and he thought that Yun Tutu would not discover it so early. Is the box behind here like the Sumeru space? Yun Tutu is thinking about this in his mind now. Can I put a lot of things in it in the future? Tutu, why do you have such an idea? The space inside is only 2 cubic meters. If you want a larger capacity, then work hard and keep up the good work. With energy, I can help you upgrade. This can be upgraded? Yun Tutu suddenly felt that last night was worth it. He asked all kinds of questions, but none of them got to the point. Of course, it's just a motorcycle now. Even if you want a large truck in the future, it's not impossible. Yun Tutu fastened his helmet and paused. I don't have a driver's license. Silence. Are you starting to deliver now? Yun Tutu could sense a hint of forbearance in Song Song's tone, and quickly said with a flattering smile, I'll sign up for a driver's license when I come back from delivering the goods. Tutu is great. It's good to be motivated. Song Song's tone finally softened a little, which also meant that the other party would work hard and give her more energy. The navigation is on. Please get on the road. Well, can we put it another way? Although Yun Tutu was not superstitious, he felt uncomfortable when someone whispered in his ear that he should go on the road. Go on the road is not a good word here. Understood. Please go. Song Song was very easy to talk to and did not mention that he had spied on this before. Another screen appeared in front of Yun Tutu, and it was still the route map. No one knew how it was set up. After turning one corner after another, she came to an empty alley. The space twisted again, and when she appeared again, she was already in a long alley. This ancient mansion was really impressive. In front of the long alley was a tall memorial archway with the words Pingyang Marquee Mansion written in traditional Chinese characters hung on it. You must be the Deliveryman that our young lady asked us to wait for. Just when Yun Tutu didn't know where to go, a middle-aged grandmother opened the corner door and looked at her curiously. When did the young lady know such a person? The outfit was very strange. And what was that under his crotch? Yun Tutu, where is she in person? She had seen regulations before that the goods must be delivered to the person in person, otherwise it might lead to complaints. Although he didn't know what the consequences of complaining would be, Yun Tutu knew that it was not a good thing. Please follow me in. Fortunately, the grandmother didn't ask too many questions, perhaps because she was a servant now and would only obey. Yun Tutu glanced at the stairs at the corner gate, and then thought about the rugged mountain road before, and asked in his heart, Send, can we get in here? Just go ahead with a car here. You can go anywhere as if it were flat ground. That was really a big deal. Yun Tutu stepped on the accelerator slightly and drove into the yard in front of the grandmother's stunned eyes. The old woman who was originally guarding inside was startled. Just as she was about to shout, she found that Grandmolly, who was with the eldest lady, followed in and chased after her, saying, "Wrong, wrong, go this way." Yun Tutu stepped on the brakes and looked at the grandma apologetically. "I lost control for a moment. Please? I am Grandma Lee, who is with the eldest lady." "Okay, please lead the way, Grandma Lee." Yun Tutu saw such a big house for the first time and looked around with curiosity. But she forgot that she was wearing a helmet on her head, which looked particularly strange in the eyes of these ancient people. But Grandma Lee was someone with the eldest lady, so they had to hold back their curiosity. Everyone in the mansion knew that the eldest lady had a lot of pimples on her face recently, and her temper was particularly bad. Especially today, the eldest lady received an invitation from the second lady of the Duke's mansion, who had always been at odds with her, and asked her to attend the appointment tomorrow. The eldest lady has always been very strong-willed. She knew that the other party had got the news from somewhere and was ready to ridicule her. She had a big temper early in the morning, and then calmed down for some unknown reason. Despite this, no one dared to touch the mold at this time, hoping that this strange person could make the eldest lady stop losing her temper. For servants who depend on their masters for their lives, whether their lives are good or not depends on the mood of these masters. Because they had greeted in advance, and with Grandma Lee leading the way, Yun Tutu was soon taken to a very exquisite courtyard. After entering through the small archway, I found that this place was a paradise. There were some exquisite utensils in the corridors. It seemed that this mansion was really rich and powerful. The young lady's courtyard was so exquisite. "Is anyone here?" The voice came before the person arrived, and it sounded a little cute. Yun Tutu was also very curious about what the young lady looked like. Just now, in order to cater to the speed of Grandma Lee, she stopped while walking. When she heard the voice, she simply braked and stopped and looked in the direction of the voice. There was no such thing as an antique young lady. She only saw a petite figure with disheveled hair appearing from the corner. "Miss, why don't we wait inside? Grandma Lee has already gone to pick her up. What do you know? This express delivery is my only hope now. If anyone makes a mistake, don't blame me for being rude." The soft and cute voice said the harshest words, but it didn't seem to have much authority. When Lu Ziki received the post this morning, she was very angry. Her mother had clearly blocked the news from the mansion, but she didn't know which traitor dared to betray the mansion. Wang Painting of the Duke's mansion had always been at odds with her, and now she was not going to take the opportunity to ridicule her. This post was sent to her with great fanfare. If she didn't go, it would mean that she was guilty. At that moment, a phantom appeared in her mind, and a text appeared on it. It was called Cross-Boundary Flash Delivery, asking her if she needed concealer, and it could be delivered at high speed to help her solve the problem. At that time, she was shocked and scared, but she didn't want to be inferior to Wang Painting, so she immediately clicked on the transaction above. Afterwards, the phantom kept appearing in her mind, and there was also a countdown for delivery, as well as the distance between the goods and herself. Lu Ziki knew that this was her fate, so she immediately called the servants around her to give her a beating and asked them to hide it in the main courtyard, wanting to see what this cross-border delivery was and whether it could really help her solve the problem. The so-called concealer, I hope it really works. Otherwise, no matter what kind of ghost he is, she will ask the master in the temple to take him in. Seeing that the goods have been delivered, Lu Ziki ignored the advice of several big girls around her, and even stepped out of the inner courtyard without combing her hair. This whole courtyard is her world, and it's up to her to do what she wants. When she turned the corner and saw the strange-looking mount and the person, she was so frightened that she stopped in her tracks. Several older girls rushed to the front to protect her. "Is that Lu Ziki? I'm here to deliver the goods to you." Yun Tutu felt that she had been fooled. In the past, the young ladies on TV were particularly exquisite when they appeared. But in front of her, the little girl who was protected in the middle had her hair disheveled, and she was not as expensively dressed as the older girls on the side. "I am." Lu Ziki pushed away Sherlon, who was blocking her. "You are the one who crossed the line to deliver the goods. Where is the thing I want?" She had been staying in this yard for a long time, and the pimples on her face almost drove her crazy. She couldn't even go out of the yard, so she was even more lazy to dress up. Yun Tutu could see the other person clearly. She must have had a few pimples before. Now they have disappeared, but the red mark is still quite conspicuous. There are many factors that cause pimples, but it is not impossible to save it. Seeing that her pimples have disappeared a little, she must have taken some Chinese medicine. Now with some external application, her face will definitely return to normal soon. They have already arrived at the place. It would be a bit rude for Yun Tutu to talk to others wearing a helmet. As soon as she took off the helmet, Lu Ziki stared at Yun Tutu curiously. Are you a foreigner? Why is your hair brown? But this face is from the Central Plains? We are all from the same country, Yun Tutu said. Although she didn't know which dynasty or imaginary world this was, everyone spoke the same language, and it was traditional Chinese characters here, so they were one family. Then why is your hair different from ours? Li Ziki pointed at her chestnut brown wavy curls. You mean this, it's dyed, and the waves are permed. There was no other way. In order to find a job and make herself look more mature, she had to spend a lot of money. She took the concealer out of the box. This is the concealer you ordered. Do you want to see the effect first? The saleswoman just gave her a few samples. She could let her try the effect first, so that she would be more comfortable with the checkout. I don't know what this saleswoman was thinking. Wouldn't it be better to pay first? It was too difficult for her to make a payment on delivery. Can I try it first? This was simply an unexpected surprise. Lu Ziki immediately pushed aside the maids beside her and came to Yun Tutu with their worried eyes. Of course. Do you have any obvious scars or marks? You can see the effect first before applying it on your face. Yun Tutu also worked as a summer intern and had some experience in sales. She also saw that there was still a long time before the order was closed, so she had to work hard to promote the products and try to sell all the goods she brought. She finally understood that as long as she completed the main task, the other incidental items would not be affected by this cross-border express delivery. For her, this was undoubtedly good news, and she could become a cross-border profiteer. Come on, servant. Shiju stretched out the back of her hand from the side. There was an ugly scar on it, which should have been caused by a burn in the past. Lu Ziki blinked. She knew the scar on Shiju. Before she was sold by her family, she got burned while doing housework. Although it has healed over the years, the ugly scar can't disappear. Every time Shiju does something, she tries not to use this hand, for fear that the scar on the back of her hand will be exposed and scare the master. It would be impossible for a maid with such flaws to approach her, but Shiju is a good cook and makes delicious pastries, so she made an exception. Yun Tutu grabbed her hand without saying a word and began to open the concealer trial pack, letting her witness the quick plastic surgery of the new century. Lu Ziki was very curious. As soon as she got close, she could smell the fragrance coming from the other person. It seemed a bit like jasmine, but it seemed not to be. This elegant fragrance made her take 2 deep breaths. She looked at Yun Tutu curiously. This sister looked very delicate, but she didn't know where she came from and how she could use such unpredictable means. She was now comparing the so-called concealer, but she was more curious about the origin of the young lady in front of her. While thinking, she heard a cry from her ear, and then looked at Shiju's hand. The ugly scar had disappeared. This is simply turning decay into magic, Grandma Li exclaimed. Girl, what kind of magic is this? It's not as mysterious as you think. Yun Tutu saw so many admiring eyes and looked at herself a little embarrassed. This is just a temporary cover-up, and it will still be exposed after washing. Shiju's expression was a little disappointed. Sure enough, this scar is not so easy to remove, but she looked at her flawless white hands and was a little absent-minded. Will it recover just by washing? Lu Ziki frowned. In such hot weather, even if she went to a banquet with ice cubes, she would still sweat, so this concealer would be a bit useless. Of course, Yun Tutu saw through their worries at a glance. A little sweat won't do that. I have other makeup products here. Do you want to try? If it is a newly appeared acne, there is definitely no way to cover it up completely, but Lu Ziki's acne has disappeared and only the acne marks are left, so it can be done perfectly. Lu Ziki became interested. I'll do it. Let me try it myself this time. The girl next to her was anxious. Miss, let's try it ourselves. If there is anything wrong. After all, it is something of unknown origin, and they dare not let the young lady take the risk. Shiju has just been tried, and the effect is visible. Lu Ziki just saw that this young lady took out some small bottles and jars from the box, and just applied them so simply covering up a scar without any flaws. What surprised her was that she had never seen those bottles and jars before. She had heard her father say before that there was a kind of tribute called glass. I guess this is much higher end than that, right? She was a little uneasy. Could she afford this concealer? But since this person had come to the house, she also wanted to see what the specific effect was. Besides, if she couldn't afford it, didn't she still have her mother? Help me try it first to see if these acne marks on my face can be covered up. Lu Ziki took the person to the living room and immediately said impatiently. Yun Tutu looked at this face with only a few acne marks and wondered what these young ladies were so concerned about. Although Yun Tutu's makeup was not very sophisticated, she still had no problem fooling these ancient people, thanks to the good products she bought this time. Just a simple bare face makeup was enough to scare these people. The bronze mirror was not very clear, so Lu Ziki asked the maids next to her, "Look carefully for me. Are there any scars?" "Miss, there are really no scars at all, and your complexion and skin tone are much better than before." The maids were very skillful, and while Yun Tutu was putting makeup on Lu Ziki's face, they had already combed her hair. With this effort, the makeup that a lady should have was complete. The eldest daughter is very beautiful, but because of acne these days, the eldest daughter has not been able to eat well, sleep well, and is particularly anxious, and her complexion has been much worse. Grandmolly couldn't help but nod her head. Before the lady got married, she was the most famous beauty in Shangjing. Otherwise, she would not have been able to marry into the Marquis' mansion as the legitimate daughter of an imperial merchant. Although the eldest daughter is also very beautiful, she is still a little inferior to the lady, but after dressing up like this, she is no different from the lady of that year. Yun Tutu was not very surprised. In her life, she had seen all kinds of beautiful faces. A beauty effect on a certain platform could turn decay into magic, not to mention that this young lady from the Marquis' mansion had some foundation. She could cover up those flaws and brighten her skin, which was comparable to some popular actresses. Yun Tutu saw Li Ziki picking up the mirror, looking around, and silently took out a makeup mirror that the saleswoman had given her as a gift from her pocket. "Use this one, it's clear." Seeing that Li Ziki was still confused, she simply opened the mirror and pointed it at her face. The small mirror, the size of a palm, reflected Li Ziki's flawless face, which scared her. But she was the daughter of the Marquis' family, and she had seen all kinds of scenes. She quickly calmed down, just staring at the person in the mirror, and touched her cheeks with her hands, and finally confirmed that the person in the mirror was herself. She had never seen herself so clearly before, and she quickly turned her head left and right to show it. It's a pity that such a clear mirror is only the size of a palm. He looked at Yun Tutu with burning eyes. "Girl, what's your name?" The things that the other party brought were too rare, not only this concealer, but also other cosmetics, including the mirror in the other party's hand. She wanted them all. From childhood to adulthood, there was nothing she couldn't get. But if she wanted to get what the other party had, she had to build a good relationship first. She didn't know if the other party would be willing to spend such a valuable thing. Otherwise, she would really have to spend a lot of money. "My name is Yun Tutu. Just call me Tutu. What do you think of this concealer? If it's suitable, let's complete the deal." Yun Tutu took the concealer in her hand very deliberately and handed it to her without mentioning anything else. Lu Ziki looked at the things in her hand and the mirror that had been folded. "Can we only trade concealer?" Yun Tutu glanced at the transaction time. This time, Song Song didn't set the time so tight. "Of course, we have already generated a contract, and we will benefit each other in the future. There is a saying in this plane that if you want the horse to run, you must feed it. But you only ordered this product." Yun Tutu saw a lot of business opportunities from the time he arrived until now. "It doesn't matter. I don't have too much of anything except money." Lu Ziki glanced at it. "I want everything you brought." Seeing her eyes fixed on the motorcycle, Yun Tutu hesitated. "That won't do. Some things are not for sale." She was still counting on this motorcycle to take her back, so she didn't dare to sell everything. "I want all those things you just put on." Lu Ziki took another look at the box. She really didn't know what other good things were in it, but for the sake of frequent visits in the future, she was willing to give in. "As for the future, you can bring me more things. I'm not short of money." Grandmolly and several older girls were terrified. "Oh my God, He was so arrogant. What if the other party asked for a lot? The young lady is really inexperienced. How can you buy things like this? Yun Tutu was delighted in her heart, but she looked very calm. These are quite expensive. From the moment she came in until now, she didn't even have tea. She just explained so much, and her throat was a little steamy. No, she really put in a lot of effort this time. If she didn't show her sincerity, she could just take some things back for her own use. Thinking of this, she became more determined. She had never used such high-end skincare products and cosmetics. Now that she could make money, she had to reward herself. How about this? I'll also exchange it for 10 golds, Lu Ziki said. Grandma Li and the others felt their heartbeats speed up. The eldest lady was going to squander money again. Yun Tutu was counting her fingers in her heart. 1 tael equals 1 gold. 10 golds equal to 10 taels, and 10 taels equal to 1 caddy. 1 caddy is 500 grams. How much is 1 gram of gold? Yun Tutu's mind was full of fireworks. Did she really get rich? As long as you complete the transaction well, there will be many more good things like this in the future. Song Song also learned a lot about motivating employees. He detected the fluctuations in Yun Tutu's heart and immediately seized the opportunity to start persuading her. Wouldn't it be bad to make such a huge profit? Yun Tiyuan said this in her heart, but on the other hand, she was already thinking about how much profit she could make this time. The amount was so large that she couldn't even calculate it. Song Song snorted coldly. He didn't expect that this was only the second business, but he had already grasped the essence of the businessman. Lu Ziki didn't know what Yun Tutu was thinking. Seeing that she didn't respond for so long, he thought that the other party was unwilling. Miss Yun, we can still negotiate the price. Yun Tutu licked her lips and said immediately, it's settled, but the price must not be reduced. As soon as Lu Ziki heard her agreement, she quickly said to Grandma Li, quick, serve tea to Miss Yun. She just saw Yun Tutu licking her lips, and then she remembered that she had not been served tea since she came in. This girl is getting more and more unruly, just watching the excitement here. And she doesn't know what is the art of hospitality. Yun Tutu quickly said, don't bother, I brought my own water. She took out a bottle of water from the basket in front of the motorcycle, which was the leftovers from her previous drink. Although she is careless, she is not careless enough to drink tea from strangers. Lu Ziki stared at the mineral water bottle in her hand curiously. There were so many strange things in the hands of this girl Yun Tutu, and she wanted them all. Seeing the girl's straight eyes, Yun Tutu took 2 sips and quickly put the lid on. Are you sure you want to trade? Then let's order some goods. By the way, I have some lipstick here. Do you want it? It was also 10 gold coins. There were also a few tubes of lipstick in the box that she had just taken. This time, she decided to keep everything she could. The lipstick you just put on me? Of course I want it. Li Ziki answered without thinking, what other good things do you have? Take them all out. If they are suitable, I will take them all. After saying that, she sniffed, which almost made Grandma Li beside her faint. Miss, you are a rich lady. Is this something you can do? Why do you smell so good? What kind of perfume did you use? Yun Tutu blinked and looked at Lu Ziki, cheering in her heart. This daughter of a marquis was so sensible. She was ready to help her clear out her money and even thought of things she hadn't thought of. Miss Lu, let's go. I'll explain it to you in detail. Yun Tutu began to provide her top-notch service as a salesperson again. A gentleman loves money, but he gets it in a proper way. She was ready to teach the other party some makeup techniques so that she could feel at ease with the money. After everything was settled, Yun Tutu brought a lot of things this time. Bottles and jars of cosmetics, skincare products, and perfumes, a total of 20. There weren't so many originally, and Yun Tutu, the clever little profiteer, included all the things he wanted to keep. This little mirror is for you. Yun Tutu reluctantly took the little makeup mirror out of her pocket. In fact, it didn't matter whether she gave it to him or not, because there were little mirrors in the foundation boxes. But Lu Ziki was very touched. Yun Tutu was really generous. She gave him such a precious treasure. Someone handed over 200 taels of gold to Yun Tutu. The 200 taels of gold were not light. They looked small, but they were heavy. Yun Tutu quickly put them in the box, and the screen in front of her showed that the transaction was completed. What does this mean? It means that the countdown for Yun Tutu's return has begun. Lu Ziki took another box from Sherlon at this time. Miss Yun gave me the mirror. I am very grateful, but I can't take your things for free. This is for Miss Yun. At this point, she also took a look at Yun Tutu's wavy curls. The color was strange, and the hair was also strange. It must be missing some accessories. I hope that next time they meet, Miss Yun will not dress so casually. Yun Tutu was very curious and did not reveal the gift in front of others. Thank you, Miss Lu. She would not be polite for something that was given for free. She also saw that the Pingyang Marquis mansion was very rich, and she had served for so long, so it was reasonable for her to get some rewards. Seeing that the countdown was about to reach 0, Yun Tutu quickly jumped onto the motorcycle. Lu Ziki and the others only saw a dazzling light, and the motorcycle that was originally parked in the yard disappeared along with the people on it. Miss? Everyone was suspicious, even Grandmolly covered her chest. She had just brought someone in at the door, and she really didn't know that the other party was so mysterious. Could this person who came and went without a trace be some kind of mountain spirit or ghost? Lu Ziki, you all keep your mouths shut. If the news gets out, you won't have to serve me anymore. Grandmolly glanced at the girls, and then said in unison, yes. You don't have to worry too much. This is my opportunity. Look at the things sent here. They just solve my urgent needs. Besides, the other party only wants gold, not anything else, and no one is hurt. That's all. He couldn't help but take out the mirror and admire himself again. Huh. Wang Pinting wanted to see me make a fool of myself, but now I can't have her wish. Yun Tutu returned to the real world, brought the gold he had just obtained home, and instantly felt that this house was not so attractive. These 200 gold can be exchanged for more than 5 million. Is it really okay to just leave it in this rented house? Give it away. I'm rich. Yun Tutu touched the gold ingots, her face flushed. Not to mention that she had never seen so much gold. I believe most people have never seen it. She couldn't help but reach out and touch them one by one, and very vulgarly imitated the TV dramas, picked up a gold ingot and took a bite. My teeth knocked a little. The TV drama must have fooled me. Look at the teeth marks on it. So this gold is real. Look at you. You are so silly. You were afraid of bringing the virus back before. I don't know how many people have touched this gold. Don't you mind? Yun Tutu's silly look just now was really embarrassing. Her IQ is not bad, but how could she do such a stupid thing? Yun Tutu immediately fell into another trouble. What do you think I need so much gold for? If I take it out to cash it, people will still target me. It's not safe to keep it at home, and it's hard to explain its origin if I take it out. I can help you trade it into cash, and the source is legal. Song Song spoke again. Then why didn't you tell me before? You even asked me to sell nugget gold. Yun Tutu hugged the gold and lay on the bed. No matter what, she had to sleep with these things in her arms today. She was so vulgar, and she liked vulgarity so much. That's to let you feel the feeling of really getting the benefits. But I will charge a handling fee for converting it into cash for you, 10% of the transaction amount. Such a high handling fee. Are you even more corrupt than me? Yun Tutu stuffed 2 gold ingots under his pillow and had to sleep with it. Didn't you say before that the profits belong to me? It's one thing, it's another. I will convert it into cash for you, which also requires energy. It's much safer than if you go out on your own. Song Song added, of course, the choice is yours. Yun Tutu lay on the bed holding these gold nuggets. I want to hold them for one night, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Song Song. He said he wanted to hold them to sleep all night. I really don't know what's so good about these cold gold ingots. This Miss Lu is really generous. Yun Tutu looked up at the ceiling. Send it off. Do you think you will trade with this Miss Lu next time? If the other party has a strong desire, it's still possible. Yun Tutu suddenly threw away the gold ingot in her arms and jumped up. I almost forgot that Miss Lu gave me a return gift just now. I wonder what's in the box? It won't be gold again, right? The box felt heavy in her hand just now. As a gift, Yun Tutu didn't take it seriously. The box felt really good. Yun Tutu opened it without thinking much and was instantly shocked. This should be a complete set of headwear. As expected of a wealthy young lady from a marquis mansion, this glittering gold hairpin is inlaid with gems. She picked up the matching bracelet and weighed it in her hand. It was really solid. The mirror was really worth it. She wanted to give her a favor, but she didn't expect the other party to give her such an expensive gift in return. Feeling like she owed someone a favor, Yun Tutu felt a little uncomfortable. Song Song, next time there is a flash delivery order from Miss Liu, remember to make a note for me, so that I can send her some more souvenirs. This trip was really a big win. No, she had to cherish these gold ingots. Others sleep with money, but she wants to sleep with gold. Song Song, it depends on fate. It didn't dare to guarantee it. Although it marked that plane, the other party had to be willing to trade, otherwise it wouldn't waste energy to make this trip. But Yun Tutu couldn't know about this, because it didn't want to cause trouble. Just as he finished speaking, he found Yun Tutu lying back on the bed, this time even holding the jewelry box. There were no delivery orders for the next 2 days, and Yun Tutu still felt a little uncomfortable. Song Song was annoyed by her. Just asked 2 questions in the morning, and he quickly changed the subject. You have so much cash in your hands now, don't you want to buy your own little home? I checked and found that you humans have a deep obsession with houses. You have been working hard to build and buy houses all your life. You have so much money in your hands now, don't you consider it? Hurry up and find something for this woman to do, otherwise I don't know how long I will be annoyed. Do you think it doesn't want to receive orders? It's not that it hasn't been collected. After being reminded by him, Yun Tutu realized that she had more than 5 million in her bank card. She could have had more, but she was deducted 10% by Shua house. Yun Tutu had never really thought about buying a house here. Besides the high house prices here, she was more inclined to return to her hometown in the future. Even if it was not in their small county, it would be closer to home if she bought a house in the city. Thinking of this, she hadn't called home for several days, and she had to report that she was safe. She took out her cell phone to check the contacts, and the last call was a week ago. This was a bit unreasonable, because her family used to call her no more than once a week. She quickly called her mother, and the call was picked up soon. A tired voice came to her ear. Tutu. Mom, why does your voice sound wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Yun Tutu was a little worried. Her mother used to be energetic and vigorous. Yuan rubbed her brows. Everything is fine at home. You don't have to worry. By the way, how is your job search going? Is the remaining money enough? How about I transfer some to you? Yun Tutu said quickly, it's enough. I haven't used up the money you transferred to me this month, and I have found a job with a good salary. Now that she has money in hand, she also thought about transferring some to her family, but she can't find an excuse. I found a job. Yuan's expression softened. It's good to have a job. You're out there alone. So remember to take care of yourself and get along well with your colleagues at work. We're not afraid of trouble, but we shouldn't cause trouble. I know. Yun Tutu's voice was filled with helplessness. She wasn't the kind of person who would easily cause trouble, provided that others didn't provoke her. However, she was the only employee in this so-called company, and she couldn't find anyone to cause trouble with. Send. It turned out that it was my fault. I didn't find you a target to bully, so you picked on me every day. Mom, tell me the truth. Is there something wrong at home? Your voice is wrong. Yun Tutu had a good relationship with her family, and she could tell that Yuan was pretending to be calm. Yuan rubbed her cheek. She had tried her best to control herself, but she didn't expect that Tutu would notice it. It's nothing serious. Your dad had a car accident when he was buying goods. His leg was broken. He is in the hospital now. What? Yun Tutu screamed. Why didn't you tell me about this? Is it serious? It's okay. He just broke his leg. Yuan was also thankful that she was lucky. Just rest for a while. He will be fully recovered in 2 or 3 months. This was said lightly, but Yun Tutu knew that after her father was injured, all the things in their small shop would fall on her mother. Although her grandparents helped take care of the shop at home, there were still many things to deal with. Don't you have the supplier's phone number? Why don't you call them to send the goods? The supply is fixed, and some goods have to be delivered by yourself. Yuan knew that her daughter was worried, so she comforted her. Don't worry, your father's operation was very successful, and his foot has recovered well. He will be discharged from the hospital and go home in a few days. I will be much more relaxed then. The mother and daughter chatted for a while, and Yun Tutu hung up the phone. Their family is located in a county-level city, and the family is simple, with grandparents, parents, and 2 siblings. Grandpa Yundagong and Grandma Song Shangxing are both old employees of the local Water Conservancy Bureau and are now retired at home. The two old people also suffered some hardships at that time, so their health was not very good. So they could only help with the household chores and take care of their younger brother who was still in elementary school. Dad Yunzi is also very courageous. After graduating from high school, he did not continue to study in college. Yun Tutu wonders if he failed to pass the exam. He also struggled with a lot of things. He thought that it would be easier to get rich by doing business. Maybe he didn't get rich in life, so what is the loss? If it weren't for the grandparents' wages, their family would have been separated long ago. Later, Yuan couldn't stand it. Since she liked doing business, she thought it would be the same to open a small shop. For this, she went back to her parents' home to borrow money to build this small shop. The business was good in the past few years, and the debt was quickly paid off and the shop was bought. However, with the rise of e-commerce, their physical shops were greatly impacted. Fortunately, their shop sells a variety of goods, so they didn't lose money, but they couldn't make money like they did in the past few years. Maybe because of his age, Yunzi no longer struggled and honestly followed Yuan to take care of the shop. When he was free, he would help others fix water and electricity, and his life was so dull. Yun Tutu had long been dissatisfied with the tricycle that had been in service for many years and had long wanted them to replace it, but his parents were reluctant to do so, and as expected, something bad happened. Yunzi saw the call from the daughter of a wealthy family and was hesitating whether to answer it. "Brother Yun, your cell phone is ringing." The young man in the same ward with him kindly reminded him when he saw that he hadn't answered it for a long time. Yunzi glanced at him. If it weren't for this unlucky kid rushing out from the corner at that time, why would he be lying here? Although the boy's family paid for all the medical expenses, the injuries on his body were real, and he had to face this will-o'-the-wisp boy every day. He was not afraid of anyone in his family, but he was afraid of this daughter of a wealthy family. If she answered the call, she would definitely give him a long lecture, and she would scold him like a grandson. The will-o'-the-wisp boy smiled at him foolishly, and Uncle Yun's eyes made him a little overwhelmed. He really knew he was wrong, and he would never ride a motorcycle on the road again. He didn't know if the doctor in the hospital had done it on purpose to trap him with the victim. Seeing the victim's injured leg made him feel more and more guilty. "I don't dare to answer it." Yunzi stared at the caller who was still trying to answer it. "How about you come and help me? Just say I went to the bathroom." The ghost fire boy stared at his plastered foot. This excuse was really not sincere. How could Uncle Yun, who looked quite smart, be so unreliable? Yunzi also followed his gaze. "Forget it. I'll do it." Just as he was about to pick up the phone, it went silent. Before Yunzi could breathe a sigh of relief, the screen lit up again. The will-o'-the-wisp boy covered his plastered hand and tilted his neck to look at the incoming call. Leaky cotton padded jacket. Yunzi pursed his lips, and the moment he answered the phone, his expression immediately changed, and his tone was particularly gentle and humble. "Tutu, you miss your dad." "Is it Dad who doesn't miss me?" Yun Tutu's voice was very calm. "You haven't called me for so long. Isn't Dad busy?" "Oh, busy running?" The will-o'-the-wisp boy covered his mouth. The quality of Uncle Yun's mobile phone was not good, and the ward was so quiet that he couldn't help but listen. "You know everything." Yunzi felt wronged again in an instant. "This has nothing to do with Dad. I was unlucky and met an unlucky guy." The unlucky guy who was gloating next door. "Uncle, are you polite? How can you say bad things about others in front of them? I told you a long time ago that you have to change your car. Even if you change to a small van, it won't be knocked over." The ghost fire boy nodded. That's right. It's better to hurt others than to get hurt yourself. Is it difficult to choose who will be hurt, others or you?" The ghost fire boy. "It's true that people of the same family are alike." Yunzi glanced at the ghost fire boy. This time he didn't talk back, and nodded in agreement. "Tutu is right. After I'm discharged from the hospital, I will change a van and knock down those who are not afraid of death." The ghost fire boy. "I really can't stay in this ward anymore. Uncle, I already know I was wrong about that." He put his hands together and whispered for forgiveness. This time, he really learned his lesson. Fortunately, he only encountered a tricycle. If he really encountered a minivan, he would probably be dead. This life is still long. He doesn't believe that he will be a good man again in 18 years. It's better to live in the present. No matter what car you drive, you must pay attention to safety when traveling. Yun Tutu is now scared when he thinks about it. For a moment, he feels that a minivan is not very safe either. Forget it, he should work harder to make money, and then buy a car with a higher safety factor for his family, and then modify it and install a bumper. Such a big thing. How could you hide it from me? Didn't you let my mother tell me? No, Yunzi didn't dare to take the blame. Your mother said, it's not easy for you to be alone outside, so don't let you worry too much. So, you think it's easy for me to be alone outside, and I won't worry if you don't tell me? Well, it turned out to be that leaky little cotton jacket. Everything he said was wrong. No, Dad just feels sorry for you because it's not easy to find a job outside alone. Why don't you come back? Yunzi said this from the bottom of his heart. He mentioned this to his child when he graduated, but Tutu was unwilling. In the end, it's all the fault of those retired old ladies in the family building. Isn't it good to dance square dance? They have to criticize these children. The children who go out of their family building are afraid of them and rarely come back. It's normal for boys to mess around outside, but my daughter has never suffered since she was a child. Since she graduated from school, she has been hitting walls everywhere outside. I don't know how much grievance she has suffered. It doesn't matter whether you work or not. Dad can still make money now. I will support you when you come back. Yunzi really loves his daughter. When he didn't allow second children to raise two boys, this daughter was his life and everything. Of course, with a little son, he will give that brat some fatherly love, but it's really not much. I'm fine. I don't want to go back and live off my parents. Yun Tutu sneered. Are you talking about whether I can go back or not? Shouldn't we discuss why you hid it from me? I really didn't mean to hide it from you. I was just injured. I'll be fine after resting for a while. Yunzi felt that the ghost-like boy opposite could be shown off. The responsibility for this matter is not on anyone. It's all that bad guy. He was speeding on the road without looking at the road. He is fully responsible. Don't worry, he has to pay for the medical expenses and nutrition. I'm lying here doing nothing every day. I've gained a few pounds. Then you will suffer too, Yun Tutu said angrily, and my mom. When you are not in the shop, she has to handle everything, and she doesn't even have time to eat or take turns. Guilt flashed in Yunzi's eyes. It was such a pity that a Jewin married him. She never had a good life. When I get better, I'll let your mother rest for a while, or let her visit you and see you. Yunzi was afraid that his daughter would not believe him, so he hurriedly said, if your mother is reluctant to spend the money, I'll buy a ticket and push her on the bus. You should take good care of yourself first, Yun Tutu said as she opened a letter and transferred 20,000 yuan to her. Dad, I've transferred some money to you. Ask Mom to buy more nutritional supplements for you. In terms of spending money, Yunzi was much more generous than Yuan. If he gave the money to Yuan, most of it would be saved. I don't want you to give me money. You're out there alone, and I'm afraid you don't have enough to spend. Yunzi shook his head, forgetting that the girl couldn't see anything he was doing. If you don't have enough money, don't make yourself suffer. Tell your parents. Tutu hadn't found a job a few days ago, and she needed money for everything outside. He knew that the child felt sorry for him, but he couldn't make her suffer. When he was about to return the money, he was shocked when he saw the string of coins. Tutu, why is there so much money? Yunzi was nervous and almost jumped off the bed. Fortunately, he held the bed rail tightly with one hand. Dad is really fine. Your money. He had to sponsor himself at the beginning of the month. How could he get so much money in less than a month? Dad, don't worry. I found a job now. The salary is good. You can buy whatever you want with this money. Yun Tutu transferred the money to Yunzi for this reason. If she transferred it to Yuan, she would be in trouble. What kind of job pays so much? Yunzi was a little worried. Was this kid cheated? Thinking of all the pyramid schemes, Yunzi, which company do you work for now? I'll ask someone. Yunzi made some friends after running around outside in the early years. It's a small company. Yun Tutu glanced at the void. The screen didn't appear, and there was no work to do today. Don't worry, your daughter won't do anything illegal. Send. As expected of a family, they always think so badly of people. Just take care of your injuries. I'll go back to see you when I have time in a few days. Yun Tutu said a few more words before hanging up the phone. After calling his parents, he called the two old people to show his concern, but it was a pity that his younger brother went to cram school at this time and missed him. The days were very peaceful. Tutu rode his motorcycle around when he had nothing to do. He had money in his pocket and wanted to buy everything he saw. Every time he went out, he had to fill the delivery box. In just a few days, the 20-square-meter rental house was almost full, so he gave up in frustration. Song Song, you're not really going to let me close the store for 3 years and then make a living for 3 years after I open it? The days without work are more difficult to endure than looking for a job. Yun Tutu is already thinking about whether to find a part-time job first. Take back your thoughts, Song Song warned in his mind. We are Flash Express. If you find a place to work, will you be able to take care of it when the time comes? This dangerous idea must be strangled in the cradle. It seems that I should really try to find something for her to do. Just wait and see. I'm already trying to help you make the contact. There will be an order soon. Song Song felt a little guilty when he said this. These days, he also wanted to understand this world and was indeed a little passive. This won't work. He needs to collect more energy and collect where the deepest demand ideas are. Yun Tutu only complained a few words like this. She still has business to do today. She signed up for the driving school a few days ago. Now that she has money in her hand, she directly signed up for a one-on-one super VIP class. She can take the first subject test in the afternoon and strive to get her driver's license within a month and a half. If you are worried about not passing the test, Song Song's voice rang in her ears. I can actually provide search information. Stop, Yun Tutu scolded directly. She knew what Song Song meant, but she had never cheated since she was a child. This small first subject test would not make her lose her bottom line. You don't understand us. From childhood to now, we don't know how many exams we have experienced. There are many more difficult ones than this. If we can't pass such a simple first subject, then we can only laugh it off. As for the nervousness before the exam, it seems to be a natural psychological reaction. Maybe except for those academic gods, no one is not afraid of entering the examination room. But I have to make it clear to you in advance that you cannot accept orders when I am taking an exam. Yun Tutu was afraid that she would receive such an order while she was taking an exam. Was she delivering goods or delivering goods? Got it. Song Song had learned a lot in the past few days and felt that he understood a little bit. He said in a very humane way, for you, the exam is the top priority. I will definitely not disturb you. Excuse me, do you want to send me to take the exam? Looking at the information collected before, it is a big deal for the children here to take the exam. In addition to sending them to take the exam, there is also the concept of accompanying them to take the exam. Although it is now intangible, it has become very close to Yun Tutu and must always maintain this relationship. Send me to take the exam? Yun Tutu seemed to have heard a big joke. What kind of exam would it be if it was just the first subject? When you search for information in the future, please read it carefully. Only the middle school entrance examination and the college entrance examination have the concept of accompanying students to take the exam, which are also important turning points in life. As for other exams, big and small, there are too many to count, so there is no such thing as so much free time. Song Song's voice gradually faded away. Then I'll search again. So this guy has been slacking off these days. Is he addicted to the internet? Seeing that the laptop that had been charging on the bedside had started to light up again, Yun Tutu slapped her forehead. This was the result of her addiction to the internet. Her business had just started, so she wouldn't be facing unemployment soon, would she? Looking at the screen that was still changing web pages, Yun Tutu was worried. This laptop had been with her for more than 3 years, so it wouldn't end this year, right? She looked at the time and saw that the exam was almost here, so she rode her motorcycle directly to the exam site. The biggest gain of these days might be this motorcycle, which has become inseparable from her. There is no need to refuel, clean, maintain, or anything like that. Most importantly, it is safe and worry-free. It is simply everyone's dream car. This kind of test can be passed in one go, of course. After making an appointment with the coach to practice driving, Yun Tutu returned to the rental house. You're back. The laptop flashed a few times and then went black. It's just right that you're back. Let's go buy another computer. I thought it could last until the new year. Yun Tutu's voice was a little dry. This computer has been with me for a few years, so I have feelings for it. I didn't know this thing was so bad. Song Song's voice was a little contemptuous. I've already cleaned it up, but it's still so stuck. I checked and there are several new models that are not bad. Let's go buy them now. Hearing Song Song's urging, Yun Tutu pursed her lips. You broke the computer that has been with me for a few years. How are you going to settle this account? At worst, I'll compensate you. Song Song was also a little cautious. If it wasn't for the overload, this computer wouldn't be scrapped so quickly. But you said that I have to choose the model. Yun Tutu had already set her eyes on the new machine that needed to be replaced, but she just didn't have the money before. It's rare to have a sucker who comes to her doorstep, so she has to think carefully about whether to change to another model. The forgotten old computer, what about the reluctance to part with it? Song Song, that won't work. You don't know as much about computers as I do. Of course you have to pick one that I can use. You can buy another one. Yun Tutu didn't know where the fee that was deducted before went, but it was nothing more than embezzlement by this guy. Yun Tutu's mobile phone vibrated, and when she opened it, she found that she had received a message. It turned out that there was a deposit of 200,000. This was specially set up after she was deducted money without knowing it before. Hurry up and check out the goods. The urging voice rang in Yun Tutu's ears again. After attending the banquet, Lu Ziki not only admired Wang Pingting's twisted and jealous face, but also became famous and even won the title of the most beautiful woman in the capital. Although she was proud in her heart, she knew when to stop, so she hid in the mansion these days and declined all invitations. Lying on the beauty couch, with a moisturizing mask on her face, the maid beside her fanned her, making her drowsy. Miss, the cousin is here, and the madam asked you to go over to entertain her. Grandma Li came over and whispered to her. The young lady was already closing her eyes to rest, and she didn't want to disturb her, but the madam had sent someone to pass on the message, so she didn't dare to delay. Without even opening her eyes, Lu Ziki said casually, Go and talk to my mother and tell her I'm busy. These days, she has had a lot of troubles. Others don't know, but all the relatives and sisters at home know that she had acne on her face and left marks. She was so dazzling at the banquet before, and these people couldn't sit still. One by one, they came to her house to ask about the good things in her hands. These things were bought by her at a high price, and she didn't want to give them away cheaply. These days, she has contacted the cross-border express delivery a lot, and the screen has never appeared in her mind again. She has only used the skincare products provided by Yun Tutu for a few days, especially the scar removal cream. After using it a few times, the acne marks on her face have disappeared. Such a small tube, half of it has been used up. She is reluctant to use the rest. Now all are locked under the cabinet. And these skincare products not only are good for her, but the effect on her mother is even more amazing. Now her father is willing to go to her yard more often, and she is no longer seduced away by those concubines as soon as she returns home as usual. But as for the lady, after all, Grandma Li is the dowry brought by the wife of the Marquis, and of course she doesn't want to make things difficult for the mistress. The cousin may come to play with you. If you don't go over here, I'm afraid she will come over by herself. It's really possible. Lu Ziki is very troubled. If it was someone else, her mother would definitely send her away directly. This is her cousin from her maternal grandparents' family. Her uncle is usually very nice to her. If there is anything good, she will not leave it out. But I haven't applied the mask for long yet. She didn't know if Yun Tutu would come again. She was using one less mask and couldn't bear to waste it. How about I go and tell Madam to ask my cousin to come here? Go ahead, Lu Ziki said helplessly. She didn't know how many people like this she had to deal with these days. Her cousin was someone she couldn't refuse. Grandma Li looked at Lu Ziki with satisfaction. The eldest lady was really getting more and more sensible. As soon as she was discharged from the hospital, Lu Ziki immediately sat up and instructed the 4 maids. Hurry up and put away all the things in my room. No, put them all in the cabinet and lock them up. After saying that, she still felt uneasy and ran to the inner room, put them separately, and just put the things I used on top. She was already using them, so I guess these people were too embarrassed to ask. The 4 maids held back their laughter and put away the things one by one as they were told. They were now familiar with doing these things. Every time they put away the things and there were no outsiders around, The eldest lady would take them out to look at them. Then keep this lipstick. Lu Ziki reluctantly took out a tube of lipstick from the middle. Uncle has always treated me well. It seems that this time I have to give it up. Shirlan did not dare to make a decision on her own, and brought the plate to Lu Ziki, waiting for her to pick and choose, and finally closed her eyes and grabbed a tube of lipstick, and then took the other things to the inner room to put away. Grandmolly came back very quickly. In addition to cousin Lin Qianxue, Marquis Lin, she also came. As soon as Lin Qianxue entered the yard, she was startled because she heard the noise. Lu Ziki turned around and was holding the golden mask. Grandmolly had told her on the way that her cousin was wearing a golden mask, so she was mentally prepared, but she was still shocked when she saw it. The difference between the mask she saw and what Grandmolly said was quite big. What kind of mask could be close to the face? It couldn't be a human skin mask? Miss Cousin, be careful. Grandmolly was prepared. Before the eldest girl beside Lin Qianxue could react, she rushed to support her. Don't be afraid, it's your cousin. Lin, she was also helpless. Her daughter was applying a facial mask here without her knowing how to show respect to her old mother and ask her to come and take care of her face. She couldn't help but touch her cheeks. She had been taking care of the backyard for many years, and with the concubines causing trouble, her complexion was not as good as before. In addition to dryness and wrinkles, there were also some spots. But after being nourished by the skincare products provided by the lady, her skin has now returned to the state it was a few years ago. Coupled with the magical makeup technique, when she goes out with the lady now, people will say they are sisters. The mother and daughter have changed so much, and the attraction is so great that many people find excuses to visit them. She is a first-rank lady, which eliminates a lot of trouble, otherwise more people would come. Cousin? Lin Qianxue covered her rapidly beating chest and moved closer. It was really Ziki. Is this the baby who makes you beautiful? There is no woman who doesn't care about her appearance. She wanted to come when she got the news a few days ago, but because the Lu family had been entertaining guests, she delayed it until today. No, this just makes the skin more moisturized. Lu Ziki greeted them while holding a facial mask on her head. Cousin, do you want to try it? She regretted it after she said that. There were only a few facial masks in total, and she prayed in her heart that the other party would definitely refuse. Who knew that? Lin Qianxue nodded in agreement generously. Thank you, cousin. Lin, she used to be a famous beauty, and of course Lin Qianxue was also good-looking, but she was still in the growth stage, and she still had some worries. Cousin, you see, I had 2 pimples here before, and there are still faint marks now. Lin Qianxue leaned her face in front of Lu Ziki. I heard that you have scar removal here. Can you also help cousin to solve the problem? There has never been such twists and turns between cousins, so Lin Qianxue made it clear at the beginning. Lu Ziki didn't care. If someone else started asking for this and that as soon as they came to her house, she would definitely have a lot of opinions. But this is her biological cousin, and the relationship between the two has always been very good. Even if she was reluctant for a moment, she still nodded and agreed to let Shirlan find the things. Lin, she also smiled when she saw her cousins helping each other so much. Qianxue, your father should be coming back soon, right? Lin Qianxue lowered her head shyly. She knew why her aunt asked this. The return of her father also meant that her marriage was approaching. You can go to Beijing in 2 days, Lin Qianxue replied truthfully. My mother specifically told me before I came here that she would go back in 2 days, and then the whole family would be reunited. Lin, she said, okay, we will all go there then. Lin, she didn't dare to say that before, because as she got older, the Marquis stayed less and less, which made the women in the backyard arrogant. But since the lady helped her take care of her face and taught her the magical makeup technique, the Marquis has stayed in the main courtyard for several days in a row. When the time comes, we will all dress up beautifully and let our uncle see us. Lu Ziki was very happy to hear that her uncle who loved her was coming back. Ziki, do you still have a way to contact that person? Lin, she asked Lu Ziki with a frown. In the past few days, people came to the mansion one after another, and some of them had higher status than her, so it was difficult to refuse them. It's just that there are not many things on the daughter's side, and it would offend anyone if she gave them to them. So she had to bite the bullet and endure all the difficulties. I don't know. I've tried to contact them, but nothing happened. Lu Ziki looked at Lin Shi with pity. In the end, her mother blocked most of the talk. Let's wait and see. I've told them that you got it by chance. If there's such an opportunity next time, I'll definitely help them get some. This is how dealing with people in the inner house works. Even if it doesn't involve the front yard, you don't dare to offend people. At present, it seems that these people believe it temporarily, but what about the future? I have also told several friends about this. That's all for now. Lu Ziki was also very distressed. Although everyone can understand on the surface, who knows if there is any barrier after a long time. This woman doesn't care about appearance. Those who don't know would think that she, Lu Ziki, is hiding something. Seeing that it's about time, she took off the mask on her face, reached out and patted it, trying to let the liquid on it absorb as much as possible. Lin Xianxue saw her cousin's flawless face and couldn't help but widen her eyes. The previous scars are really healed, and the skin is more tender than before. It's not that the cosmetics given by Yun Tutu have any miraculous effects, but that the ancients basically had no skincare products. This lady from a wealthy family hides at home all day to keep her face white. But even so, after experiencing cold winters and hot summers, her face is supported by young collagen and some low-quality powder. Before Lin, she stopped using cosmetics. She was only in her early 30s, but her face also had traces of time. Lin Xianxue stayed at Lu Ziki's place for 2 days and tried all of Lu Ziki's skincare products and cosmetics. She felt that her face had improved, so she left with satisfaction. Pingyang Mansion had long been targeted by people, so they naturally knew the changes when Lin Xianxue left. Lu Ziki received more visiting cards. With so many people coming and going, even if Lu Ziki tried hard to control the number of visitors, her skincare products, which were not many to begin with, were almost gone. What worried her most was that someone came from the palace, and the Empress summoned them to the palace. When they came back from the palace, their backs were soaked. Although the Empress believed that they only had these things left, she also hinted that next time they had such good things, they should consider going to the palace first. Lu Ziki's emotions fluctuated greatly, and Song Song quickly caught on. Thinking about these days, she was indeed a little passive and lazy, so she connected again. Seeing the screen appear again, Lu Ziki immediately cried out in surprise, "Mother, mother, here she is." She grabbed Lin Shi's hand. "I've contacted her, and she's sending it across the border. Then you quickly ask her to send more things over, and the price is negotiable." While Lin Shi was talking, her mind was already working non-stop, 20 sets of each item. No, a little more, 30 sets. Last time, there were only a few things worth 200 gold. So this time the quantity is a bit large, and she has to calculate how much gold she has on hand now. Let her take as much as you think she can bring, and I'll have someone go and exchange it for gold. Ziki said that the little girl likes gold very much, so she should prepare more. There are gold ingots in the storehouse of the Marquis's mansion, which are things from the public, and this is her daughter's unique fortune. Lin Shi is not willing to let those women in the backyard take advantage of it. Do you really think she doesn't know? These people have been saying a lot of sour words to the Marquis these days. Fortunately, the Marquis has been staying in the main courtyard these days and has not given them many opportunities. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but grit her teeth. You have a flash delivery order. The Marquis's eldest daughter needs skincare products and some cosmetics. Yun Tutu was playing games online with Song Song. Suddenly, Song Song's voice appeared in her mind. She turned her head to look at the computer next door, but saw the keyboard jumping non-stop and could not see the operator. She was already accustomed to such supernatural things, so her hands slowed down. "Can you do 2 things at the same time?" "I can't help it. It's a critical moment," Song Song said without paying attention to Yun Tutu, and waited until the game was over before saying, "Should I help you with the goods, or do you do it yourself?" Yun Tutu looked at the time. "Why is it taking longer each time?" "Of course, I have some energy now, and the other party didn't specify the transaction time, so I won't force it." "So humane?" Yun Tutu narrowed his eyes. "In other words, as long as I don't complete the transaction, then I won't." "Of course that's impossible," Song Song hesitated and said. "Although some energy has been collected, the time it can last is still limited, not as urgent as the first order." Yun Tutu seemed to understand. "So I may spend more time in other planes in the future?" "You can understand that, but it depends on my ability." Song Song has also cultivated some friendship with Yun Tutu these days, and his tone is not as stiff as before, so do more tasks, and it is not impossible for you to take the opportunity to travel there in the future. This is great news, and Yun Tutu is satisfied instantly. This is completely a free trip, even the transportation fee can be saved, and this job is really good. But what does this mean? At least give an accurate number, so that there will be something to talk about when it is too much or too little. The skincare products and cosmetics they sent over before were very popular, and they want you to cooperate to the best of your ability. But they don't know how much you can supply, so they can't write down a clear number, so they wrote a few. Yun Tutu laughed. If you want more, there's no way. The trunk can only hold so much. Even if I hang a little more on the front of the frame, how much can I get? I'll upgrade you after you complete the transaction this time. Song Song gritted his teeth and said, there is a saying here that is right. If you want to do your job well, you must first sharpen your tools. Otherwise, next time someone specifies a number, it won't be able to trade. Let's go shopping. Yun Tutu turned off the computer and unplugged the power supply. She decided to do it herself so that she would feel more involved. Send it. She didn't know that this woman had a so-called shopping desire, and she said it so high-soundingly. Still in the same mall, it happened to be those sales clerks who were working today. When they saw Yun Tutu coming in, their smiles were particularly sincere. Yun Tutu wanted a lot of things, basically clearing out the 2 counters, and even not taking some packaging boxes to save space. There were too many things, so the salesgirls helped to carry them outside. When they saw the familiar takeaway cart, they were stunned for a moment at most, but soon they kept smiling again. No matter who they are, if they can create sales for them, they are noble people. Yun Tutu knew that there was a secret in this takeaway car, so he declined their help and asked them to put the things aside. After they left, he put them in one by one. When there was no more stuff in, he hung the rest in front of the car. He put on his helmet and continued his delivery work. I said we can just cross the border directly. Why do we have to go around in this way? The familiar routine took a few more detours. There's nothing I can do. I can't just turn a living person into a living person for others. Song Song answered confidently. There's no one around when I open the cross-border. What about the surveillance? Hee, a short-term block. This time, it was Grandmolly who stood outside to greet them. Seeing that Yun Tutu was particularly enthusiastic this time, she even opened the corner door in advance. Miss Yun, you are finally here. Please come in. If the eldest lady hadn't been too conspicuous standing here, she would have come outside to greet them in person. Yun Tutu nodded at her and followed her in immediately. This time, she brought a lot of things, so she had to complete the transaction as soon as possible to save some energy for Song Song, so that she could upgrade her car later. Although Grandmolly was already middle-aged, she was very agile and trotted ahead to lead the way. Soon, they arrived at the familiar courtyard again. However, this time, there was not only Lu Ziki, but also a beautiful woman standing beside them. Judging from her similar facial features to Lu Ziki, this woman must be the marquee wife. Yun Tutu took off her helmet and nodded to them. Lu Ziki immediately came over happily. Sister Yun, you are here. This sudden change of address really made Yun Tutu unable to react for a while. The two of them only met once. How come they are so familiar with each other? Lu Ziki pretended not to see it and said with a familiar face, Thank you for your hard work on the way and for troubling you to make this trip again. When she said this, her eyes were fixed on the motorcycle. In addition to the trunk, she was also staring at the bags in front. She felt a little disappointed in her heart, as if there were not many things. She didn't know if she could distribute so many people this time, but with 2 transactions, there will definitely be a 3rd and 4th time. This is a good start. Seeing that they were all glued to the car and couldn't get out, Yun Tutu didn't waste any time and took off all the bags, opened the box and took out things one by one. Lin Shi's pupils shrank slightly. She was not as naive as her daughter. This box was obviously not big, but she could take out things continuously. She looked at Yun Tutu and couldn't help but be more cautious. The trading system that only her daughter could see and Yun Tutu, who appeared out of nowhere, showed that everything was abnormal. I have heard of many ghost legends, but I have never heard of such a thing. However, the box at the back looked a bit like the legendary Sumi. She took a few steps forward and took a look inside calmly. She had taken out so much, but there was still more inside. Lu Ziki didn't think as much as her mother did. Instead, She looked at the items scattered all over the floor with excitement. This time, they should be able to explain everything and still have some left over. Mother, Lu Ziki secretly pulled Lin Shi. Why don't you ask someone to prepare some more gold? Lin Shi patted her hands. Don't worry, the storehouse at home can be used. Socializing with the outside world is not just for the two of them, mother and daughter. In addition to the money they pay for their private relationships, the money they send to the palace is all from the public treasury. Although Lin Shi married into the palace with a lot of red makeup, those will only belong to her children in the future, and she can still sort them out. This time, Yun Tutu didn't need to do anything at all. The maids and servants brought by the Marquis's wife were classified one by one and counted, and Yun Tutu was served by Lu Ziki's 4 big maids. Bringing water, fanning, serving tea and snacks. It is simply taking care of her in every possible way. Sister Yun, I wanted to contact you a few days ago, but I couldn't. I wonder if there is any way to contact you when I need you in the future? Lu Ziki came to Yun Tutu's side. It was also agreed by the mother and daughter earlier that she would keep in touch. If the transaction can continue, the status of the imperial merchant of the maternal grandfather's family will be more stable. I can't do this. We can only receive your urgent thoughts. The eldest lady in front of her was generous, and Yun Tutu also wanted to do more business. She was alone in the alien world. She was not afraid, but it seemed more stable here at the moment. If the other party really dared to have bad intentions, it was not certain who would suffer the loss with the help of her. Apart from this, is there no other way? Lu Ziki was also very curious about Yun Tutu's origins. Even though everything cost 10 gold coins, the bottles and jars she had left over were bought at high prices. Not yet, Song Song's voice rang in Yun Tutu's ears. Although this plane has been marked, we don't have the initiative. Tutu understood that customers are the gods. If anyone sends express delivery to promote their products, it is only when there is an order. There is really no other way. Yun Tutu couldn't help but think of the refugee Xiaoya. I think her life has improved and she doesn't have this demand. This is good. When making a profit, it can be regarded as indirect help. Lu Ziki has been spoiled since she was a child. She has never been rejected so directly, so she can't help but show some anger on her face. Seeing this, Lin Shi, who was paying attention to this place, came over with a smile. Okay, girl, you kept talking about it when your sister Yun was not here, and now you are acting like a little girl again. Go take a look at those things first, and pick out what you want to keep. Lu Ziki, mother. What do you mean? From the corner gate to the yard. Everything is under the control of the mother now. Is the news still going to leak out? Lin Shi's lips curled slightly. There is no wall that is impenetrable. It's just a matter of time. She patted Lu Ziki's shoulder. Go. Lu Ziki's attention was diverted, and she began to pick out the things she liked. My little girl is naughty, and I'm sorry to make Miss Yun embarrassed. This was Yun Tutu's first time dealing with the noble lady. Although she smiled very cordially, she also felt an invisible pressure. She had never eaten pork, but she had seen pigs run. Not to mention that she was in the era of information explosion. She responded calmly, Madam, you are too worried. The noble lady is very innocent. This compliment was not a good thing in Lin Shi's eyes. How could a lady from a wealthy family be innocent? She thought that her daughter had really angered the other party just now, and that she was deliberately mocking him. She did not change her expression and continued with a smile. I am used to being coquettish. She is just a child. If I have offended her, I hope Miss Lin will forgive me. Yun Tutu was not here to join their fight. She smiled politely. None of these things exist. After all, we are just trading partners, by the way. How are the goods here being cleared? How about taking a look at my list? Yun Tutu took out the traditional Chinese list that had been modified by Song Song, which even had the quantities counted. Lin Shi looked at the white paper in her hand and was even more shocked. When did paper become so clean and flawless? As expected, she couldn't treat Miss Yun like an ordinary person. She didn't even dare to care about her harsh words. She quickly called Grandma Li, you and a few housekeepers go and bring the gold here. Then she called her personal maids and saw 2 maids holding a wooden box in their hands. We meet for the first time today. This is for the young lady to play with. Another gift? Yun Tutu's eyes were a little dull. How much wealth does it take to afford such a waste? Fortunately, she was prepared. When she was buying perfume just now, She happened to see someone selling handmade soap there. So she bought a few pieces and put them in her bag. Although it was a bargain, there was no such thing here now. Thank you, Madame Marquis. Yun Tutu took it with both hands, and the maid behind her quickly took it over. She only took a glance and had a clearer understanding of the class divisions in this captive society. This is a handmade soap for Madame. Yun Tutu took the handmade soap out of her bag and explained it to her since there was still time. This is used for cleaning. This transaction went smoothly, and Yun Tutu earned a fortune again. From the hints just now, she also learned that this world was also fictitious and did not exist in history at all, so she gave up her plan to exchange some antiques for it. Gold is easy to exchange, but these antiques of unknown origin may cause trouble, because the Madame Marquis was going to be here this time. Yun Tutu felt a little depressed and got up and said goodbye after getting the things. Lin Shi and her daughter were disappointed that they did not get a promise to continue the transaction, but they did not want to offend anyone, so they were more restrained. Looking at the motorcycle and the person who disappeared out of thin air, Lin Shi sighed and said to Lu Ziki, "Be more polite to Miss Yun in the future. If there is a transaction next time, let your uncle know first." Although she is now a wife of the Lu family, her family is also her backing. Her family has secured the position of the royal merchant and will certainly not treat them unfairly. What about my father? Lu Ziki thought of her father's previous instructions and hesitated. Today's transaction came suddenly, and her father went out of town for business, and she didn't know how to explain when he came back. "I'll talk to your father." Lin Shi now felt more confident when facing the Marquis. There were so many people in the mansion, but only she, the daughter, had such an adventure. This was her trump card. Yun Tutu returned to the real world and immediately rushed back home. This time, she even pushed the motorcycle into the narrow rental house. With so much gold, I can't calm down. Yun Tutu was really afraid that if she continued like this, she would have a heart disease. Look at you. You are so timid and cowardly, and you can't handle it. The computer dedicated to sending Song Song lit up again. It didn't have time to comfort the other party's fragile mood. Do you think it would be too ostentatious to convert all this gold into money? Yun Tutu, who was originally a small citizen, was panicked by these unknown incomes. Looking at the flashing computer, she had an immature idea in her mind. "Then keep it," Song Song said casually. "Don't you like sleeping on a pillow of gold? It's a good opportunity to accumulate it and build a golden bed. I can help you." Hee hee. Yun Tutu walked over and turned on her computer. "Who do you think likes sleeping on a hard bed? If there is another transaction next time, I want to change it to something else." "It's all your freedom," Song Song said in a surprised voice. "I don't seem to be involved, and there are no hard and fast rules, right?" Yun Tutu, you have a flash delivery order, and I want to show off my netizen and send a world map to the first emperor. The screen appeared so suddenly that Yun Tutu blinked. She hadn't even sat down to catch her breath yet. So why is it here again? And what's written on it? The first emperor? Is it what she thought? She admired the ancestors very much, but she didn't want to meet them face to face. As expected, if the energy is sufficient, it can be automatically searched. Song Song's voice was very excited. He didn't have a physical body, otherwise he would be dancing with joy. Why is this news so strange? It's actually a task posted by a netizen. Yun Tutu looked at me and tried to utter a few words and asked her own question. This can't be our dimension, right? The two dimensions we went through before were parallel time and space, but this Qin Shi Huang was a real figure in their history. Let me check. Song Song paused for a long time before speaking in a heavy voice. There is a bug. It is indeed a task posted by a high school student in your dimension. Logically, you can't post tasks here, but now the task posted by this person actually appears in the task list. Let me check again. Song Song disappeared for a while again. This time he appeared after half an hour. This is not just his resentment. It's the resentment of many people gathered on him, forming a wish, which was captured just in time. So there is such a task. Song Song still couldn't understand when he said this. Isn't it just learning one more language? What's so difficult about that? Yun Tutu was speechless. This was not the idea of a netizen who wanted to tarnish one person. It was the strong resentment of thousands of students in school, including her. Although I have escaped from the sea of suffering and don't think about going abroad in the future, I don't want my descendants to learn this thing. If they have to learn, they should learn our language. I accept this order, Yun Tutu said with a surge of emotions, but was laughed at by Song Song. You talk as if you can refuse it. Since the order has been formed, then do the work. Stop. Yun Tutu suddenly stopped. If history changes because of this map, can I still exist? This is fatal. Who knew that the charming ancestor would do something amazing after getting the world map? You're worrying too much. If a big change happens in the myriad worlds, a new world will naturally emerge. At most, there may be you in another world. Yun Tutu. So even if we send the map, we still have to learn this darn English. Don't make it so difficult. When learning a language, learn it if you need it, and you can choose not to learn it if you don't need it. Song Song felt that there was nothing to be embarrassed about. You have to eat every day. Are you a chef? It seems that there is some truth. Yun Tutu figured it out and suddenly laughed. If this is really possible, then it is not impossible to give yourself in another world some more benefits. We are all descendants of the Chinese nation. The sooner we stand at the top of the world, the more our ancestors who have suffered can enjoy a peaceful life. What do our ancestors need? She had no way of getting the elixir of life, but she couldn't just give away a world map this time. Yun Tutu turned around and saw the landlord drying sweet potatoes in the yard. Now she had some ideas. What the army needs most is food. Only when they are well fed can they expand their territory. In addition, there are weapons, but these are not things she can get. Now time is tight and the task is heavy. She can only strive to bring more things that can help the ancestors this time. In addition to this transaction, will I have another chance? This is very important. Song Song didn't know why Yun Tutu was so excited. He had many doubts before and was only thinking about the distribution of goods. This time hasn't even passed, but he has already made an appointment for the next time. The same reason, this is not something I can decide. Song Song still gave the same answer, which was the same as saying nothing. Is there a time limit for the transaction this time? I'll check. There is no trading time for the time being, but with my current energy, you are also there and can't stay too long. Yun Tutu thought carefully. It seemed to be true. She didn't seem to have been in Pingyang Marquee Mansion for more than 2 hours. Not bad. At least there is progress. If the time is extended, it will be good news. There is a start, and there will be a chance to talk about it later. What Yun Tutu needs most now is to equip himself with things. To move out the gold ingots that have not been cleared out. Is it okay to keep these at home? You can exchange them first, Song Song suggested, so that it can also have some commission. Yun Tutu stopped what he was doing, thinking that there would be a lot of things to buy in the future, and he would be more confident with money in hand. Let's exchange half. As soon as he finished speaking, half of the gold disappeared in an instant. You are really fast. Song Song felt a little guilty. It has to be fast. It also needs to recharge to buy equipment to play games here. Didn't you say before that this can be upgraded? Yun Tutu patted the motorcycle. There are too many things he wants to buy. This is not enough. Song Song, it's just a map. You can hold it in your hand. Now complete the transaction, and then slowly upgrade it when you come back. By then, I can accumulate more energy and upgrade it more. That won't work. Yun Tutu was very principled. I've already agreed before. Do you want to go back on your word? Don't accuse me, Song Song complained. Your room is too small. How about pushing the motorcycle out first? Yun Tutu was delighted. This was an agreement, and he didn't bother to take out the gold inside, and quickly pushed the motorcycle into the yard. Looking at the motorcycle with expectation, various models flashed in his mind. Even the mighty and domineering trailer came to mind. Song Song, what is this? Yun Tutu patted the hanging boxes that appeared on both sides of the motorcycle in disbelief. Just this thing? How much stuff can this hold? Don't underestimate it. Each box has a volume of 2 cubic meters. Song Song had no physical body, otherwise I would really want to roll my eyes. What was going through Tutu's mind just now? A big trailer. Lucky 20. That's fine. Yun Tutu pouted with a hint of disdain and could only bring less. By the way, can you exchange it for? No. I haven't said anything yet. Don't say anything. It's impossible. This is not part of the transaction. We can only provide a map. That's really unreasonable. Yun Tutu was a little disappointed. Then apart from the map, you won't interfere with what I bring, right? Song Song said, when have I ever interfered? As long as you have the ability, you can decide what to bring, but don't forget our main mission. I won't forget. Yun Tutu can guarantee this. It's not just my personal idea of I want to be shabby, but also the wish of many people. Then take the order quickly and go do the mission. Song Song turned off the computer reluctantly and urged, what about the things in here? Yun Tutu felt a little regretful because the gold ingots had not been put home yet. If he had known earlier, he would have added hanging boxes on both sides of the car and cleared out the things no matter what. It won't be a problem to put it in there. No one can open it except you. Song Song didn't think there was anything wrong with it. How can I do that? These things take up space in there. Yun Tutu went back to the bedroom, took out his backpack, put the things in it, and stuffed it directly under the bed. Thinking of the backpack just now, he was thoughtful. There were too many things he wanted to buy, and this was also a container. Song Song noticed her thoughts and urged her with a sneer. You are just a small person. No matter how many things you bring, you can't change a country. Yun Tutu raised her eyebrows without refutation. Change, that's not a victory by quantity. Riding on a motorcycle, he sped out and found that Yun Tutu turned into a grain and seed store. Song Song had some doubts. What are you doing here? Seeds can't be sold at a high price. Even in the ancient plane, agriculture is the basis. Otherwise, you can buy some skincare products like before. The emperor has many concubines in the harem, and those things can bring you high profits. Only if Yun Tutu tasted the sweetness, she would work harder, just like the gold she harvested before. Yun Tutu did not answer it, but asked the proprietress at the counter, Madam, I want some seeds. Do you have them here? Of course. If I don't have the seeds here, you may not be able to buy them somewhere else. Seeing that there was business coming, the proprietress immediately stood up and said with a smile, other stores sometimes don't have enough goods, so they still distribute them from me. Little girl, are you planning to plant something on the balcony? I have flower and plant seeds here, and some vegetable seeds suitable for planting on the balcony. Look, they're over there. The proprietress looked at Yun Tutu. Young people nowadays often have sudden ideas, let alone just planting something on the balcony. She has seen many such people. No, I want to buy some high-yield staple foods, sweet potatoes, corn, potatoes, you have them all here, right? Of course we have them. The proprietress came out from the counter. Why? Are you here to buy for the elders in your family? No wonder she thinks so. How many young people nowadays would go out to farm? Yun Tutu, yes, my family asked me to come here to buy some. While speaking, Yun Tutu was also looking at this seed shop. She had just chosen to walk into the largest store. In addition to the dazzling array of cabinets, there was a row of books in the corner and a cabinet of brochures. The lady boss looked at her, staring at the books, and said with a smile, when you buy seeds later, you can take some books with you. They will explain in detail how to plant them. Yun Tutu had never farmed before and only knew a few high-yield crops, but she really had no idea how to grow them. The boss's suggestion was just what she wanted. That's great. Yun Tutu nodded to the proprietress, then I'll buy the seeds first and see if there are any corresponding books. I'll ask you to help me pick them out then. The proprietress smiled. Of course there is no problem. If you plant according to the book, the harvest will definitely be better. Some people came to buy seeds before, and I recommended them to them, but they all said that they were good at planting, and they left after buying the seeds. It would be difficult for me if they came to me to cause trouble when the harvest was not satisfactory. Proprietor's wife, is there any problem with the seeds here? Yun Tutu was a little skeptical when he heard this. Could there really be something wrong with the seeds? I'm not saying there's no harvest, but it's not as good as expected. The lady boss laughed dryly. There's definitely no problem with my seeds. I can write you an order. If the seeds are not good, just come to me. Then I'll trouble you, lady boss. Please pick the best ones for me. Yun Tutu really had no choice this time. Even if she changed stores, she couldn't tell the good from the bad. She asked Song Song for help in her heart. Can you tell the quality of this seed? Don't worry, I'll check it for you. Song Song didn't refuse. As for the seeds, as long as they are active, it's fine. This is still very easy. Yun Tutu breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Otherwise, she was really afraid of buying some inferior seeds. which would be a waste of money. How much do you need? The lady boss prepared to stock up by weight. After thinking about the capacity of the motorcycle, 200 kilograms of potatoes, corn, and sweet potatoes each. In this way, the two hanging boxes will be almost full, and some small seeds can be squeezed in. As for the back box, there are other things to buy. Seeing the farm tools squeezed aside, it seems that it is not impossible. The boss lady was surprised. It seems that you are a big grower. Can you carry so many things back by yourself? Yun Tutu was shocked. This didn't look like a few boxes of cosmetics. Don't worry, you asked the boss lady to put it at the door, and I will help you pack the things. Song Song said. It still wanted to develop in the long run, and it didn't dare to let its only employee be caught and sliced. Don't worry, boss lady, someone will come to pick it up later. You can just help me carry it to the door. Yun Tutu pointed to the big tree at the door, which was right next to the road and a good place for loading and unloading. That's no problem. The boss lady breathed a sigh of relief. Just don't let me deliver it myself. Now she is the only one in the store, and she really can't leave. The sweet potato varieties here include Jishu number 18, Guangshu number 135, Ningxi number 4, Jingshu number 6, and fruit sweet potatoes. Which one do you need? Yun Tutu was confused. Are there so many kinds of sweet potatoes? It seems to be true. There are many different tastes of sweet potatoes. How about you pick out some that are easy to grow and taste good, and give me some? Each bag of mine is 50 kilograms. How about I pick 4 kinds for you? It was the first time that the proprietress saw someone who knew nothing coming here to buy, and she didn't know which adult was so careless as to do such an unreliable thing. But she just complained in her heart. As long as she could make money, she didn't care about so much. Okay, are there varieties of potatoes? Of course there are: yellow skin potatoes, red skin potatoes, white potatoes, and black potatoes. The proprietress introduced them directly and simply said, it's the same with corn. There is sweet corn, glutinous rice. I'll pick 50 kilograms of each for you. Thank you, boss. Remember to pick the one with a higher yield. She didn't know anything, so she left it to the professionals. Don't worry, the seeds here have never received bad reviews. The proprietress patted her chest and said, then I will help you. While the proprietress was talking, she had already taken action, dragging a bag in each hand and walking out. Beauty, then you come and give me a hand. The proprietress opened the door next to the counter. There was the warehouse of the seed store. Although a bag only weighed 50 kilograms, it was not a small amount. Yun Tutu certainly couldn't just stand by and watch. Every time the proprietress dragged out a bag, she pulled it out and slowly put 300 kilograms of seeds next to the tree. Song Song also gave the answer. There was no problem with these seeds. Oh, and there are tomatoes and peppers. Pick some seeds for me. Yun Tutu thought of the scarce food of her ancestors and saw the labels on the cabinet and ordered a lot of them. Do you want to plant some rice? I have hybrid rice seeds that have just been delivered. The lady boss asked while picking up the goods. Seeing that the little girl bought so many things for her, she couldn't help but ask a question. Rice seeds? Can I save the seeds in the future? Yun Tutu remembered that it was not suitable to save the seeds of hybrid rice by yourself because the yield would be reduced, and the seeds would even mutate, and the harvest would be greatly reduced. When it comes to these seeds, the proprietress knows them all by heart. That's definitely not possible. If you need to save seeds, then you can buy local seeds. Although the yield is not as good as hybrid rice, it's not bad. If the land is good and the management is good, the yield per moo can reach 1,000 kilograms. I just asked for these. The proprietress immediately understood what she was going to ask. Don't worry, those are not hybrid seeds. If they were, I would have informed you in advance. After the proprietress finished speaking, she picked out the 2 kinds of seeds that she had just put into the bag and rearranged the goods. After all, business still requires integrity. Yun Tutu. Don't worry, this proprietress is relatively honest. Song Song's voice came from my ear. Are you sure you want to take these seeds with you? Some people can't understand humans. How much can these seeds be worth? Just these? She wanted to take other things, but she couldn't reach them. But this also reminded her, and Yun Tutu took out her mobile phone and kept clicking on it. Although Song Song saw it, he didn't care. The proprietress acted quickly, and in a short while, she had prepared all the things, and also gave some extra vegetable seeds that Yun Tutu didn't mention. If you have planted them well, come to me next time. Anyone who can buy so many seeds must have a lot of land at home, and maybe he can develop into a long-term customer. After saying that, she was still worried and took out a business card from the cabinet. Here is my contact information. If there are a lot of goods, I can also arrange a time for delivery. Yun Tutu, can you still deliver goods here? The proprietress smiled a little guilty. That depends on whether I have enough manpower. If the goods are not urgent, I can let my husband deliver them. It's just that he has something to do in his hometown these days, and I can't spare any manpower here for the time being. Yun Tutu took the business card with both hands and put it in her bag. She didn't know if she would need it next time. That's for sure. As long as these seeds are good, we can definitely cooperate for a long time. The proprietress didn't forget to pack up all the information on the counter. There are QR codes on the back. If you don't understand, scan them and there are video tutorials. Yun Tutu flipped through it. Some of the explanations were relatively clear. Even a novice farmer like her could understand them, not to mention those old farmers. Song, can you change all of these into small seal script? Thinking of small seal script, Yun Tutu couldn't help but sigh. If she really went to the Qin dynasty, she would be illiterate. It's feasible, but it's too much and it takes a lot of energy. Song was a little reluctant. If it was just a few pages of paper, it wouldn't hurt or itch for him. But with so many, this trip might be in vain. Yun Tutu picked and chose a few staple foods first, then convert these first and talk about the others later. During this conversation, Yun Tutu asked for some more farm tools. The proprietress wrote out the order and settled the amount. So many things, but not even as much as a set of cosmetics. Yun Tutu settled the bill, and with the help of Song, she quietly packed all the things into boxes, just filling up the hanging boxes on both sides. It's time to buy a map now, right? Song did not forget to remind her to do the business. Yun Tutu rode on the motorcycle and headed straight to the bookstore. There were a wide variety of books in here. Yun Tutu walked through the bookshelves. 5,000 years ago, this is a must-have. The 4 great inventions from ancient to modern times were collected. By the way, there are some modern simplified Chinese characters in here, so a dictionary is needed. The dictionary didn't work, but she did find a table comparing small seal characters and simplified characters, which had 5,000 characters, which should be enough. If this problem was solved, there would be a lot of options. History of Chinese Agriculture, Draft History of Chinese Agricultural Science and Technology, History of Chinese Agricultural Science and Technology, Elements of the Qi People, Encyclopedia of Farm Tools, Chinese Weapons, Complete Book of Chinese Weapon Collection and Appreciation, Chinese Military Encyclopedia, Atlas of Ancient Chinese Weapons, and yes, there are also various books on military strategies and various laws. If you keep picking, are you going to empty the entire bookstore? Song saw that Yun Tutu was still hesitating after a long time. So he quickly reminded her, you haven't done your business yet, and you won't be able to fit more books. Yun Tutu saw the salesperson helping her move all the books to the counter, and then she realized that she had picked so many books without realizing it. It would be nice if I could pack more, Yun Tutu said, regretting that the car was still too small. It would be foolish not to seize this opportunity. But she did not stop there. She picked out 3 more high-capacity backpacks, and then she picked out several world maps and flower-growing maps from the map cabinet. Do you need so many? Song did not understand again. He only wanted 1 world map. I am in a good mood today, and I am doing a promotion. Buy 1 get 10 free. Yun Tutu now hopes that with the help of these book seeds, the first emperor will have more confidence. What's the use of getting these? I just checked the history. The first emperor did not live long. Song poured a basin of cold water on him. Yun Tutu clapped her hands. I was saying I forgot something. It turns out it's this. Can we make a deal and set the time in the past to when the first emperor had just unified the 6 kingdoms? At that time, he hadn't experienced the second tour yet. Sufu hadn't started to come to the fore, and everything hadn't happened yet. Now with the history books and her reminder, the first emperor would definitely not go back to the old ways. This can't be done. Why can't it be done? Think about the people's wish to send the world map over there. That's to expand the territory. You said the protagonist is dead. What's the point of sending the map over there? Song. That it seems to make some sense. I'll give it a try, but I can't guarantee it. There may be deviations. Okay, Yun Tutu said in her heart. It wouldn't be a big deal if she could agree. If she really sent her to the 5th Eastern Tour, then she would really want to cry without tears. All these preparations would be in vain. After paying the bill, Yun Tutu had to carry the books, which cost more than 1,000 yuan, several times. She filled the box at the back and stuffed the rest into her backpack, hanging one on each side and carrying another on her back. Her appearance attracted the sidelong glances of passers-by. Let's go, Song snorted coldly, and the navigation screen appeared in front of Yun Tutu again. Riding on the motorcycle, Yun Tutu was nervous and excited. She kept shouting in her heart, Zulong, Zhengge, Qin Shi Huang, I'm coming. Can you stop making so much noise? Song couldn't help it. Although she was shouting in her heart, they were in sync now, and the passion was overwhelming. You don't understand my excitement. Yun Tutu slowed down. No, she had to slow down. Think about it. What will happen if you appear in front of an emperor out of thin air? Song reminded coldly, not to mention the famous tyranny in history. Yun Tutu slammed on the brakes. It seems to make sense. I have to confirm with you. You have to make sure that my life is not in danger. That's for sure. This little life will only grow old in this world. Song was a little dissatisfied with Yun Tutu's doubts. Then why are you asking me to be prepared? If there is any danger, I will put down my things and we will come back. But you said that you must not delay me and come back as soon as you finish your work. If it delays there for a long time, it will only waste its energy. That's for sure. Yun Tutu never believes in those novels about traveling through time and living a good life. Not to mention the lack of entertainment in ancient times, even delicious food can't attract her, not to mention that in the Qin dynasty, everyone was still eating bran and wild vegetables. Be prepared. Just turn 2 more corners, and you will reach the deserted alley. Song didn't want to pay attention to her anymore, and left the rest to her. Yun Tutu took a few deep breaths and then accelerated the motorcycle. When she passed through the deserted alley and reappeared, she heard a loud shout, "Guards! How dare you? Who are you?" When she looked clearly, she was surrounded by guards, with bronze swords pointing directly at her, and a circle of spears outside. Yun Tutu had never seen such a scene before, and her back went cold with fear, but then she saw the guards who wanted to approach and subdue her were bounced back, as if there was an invisible barrier covering her surroundings. Who are you? Several people were unable to take down the strange man who suddenly appeared, and the chief guard asked coldly, "Why did you suddenly appear here?" Zhang was kneeling there flipping through bamboo slips. When he heard the guard's angry rebuke, he calmly put down the memorial in his hand. Zhao Gao, who was standing aside, was looking at the strange thing surrounded by the guards in surprise. The assassins nowadays are really strange, and this one doesn't even dare to show his face. Don't you think that there is no way to deal with him because he is wrapped so tightly? Your Majesty, I will go and take a look. Ing Zhang gave a look, and Zhao Gao immediately understood. I want to see the first emperor. Yun Tutu was surrounded in the middle and didn't see the surrounding situation clearly. Song has always been reliable, and the first emperor must be not far away. How brave! A slightly sharp voice came, and the guards made way for Zhao Gao to look more clearly at the person who suddenly appeared in front of him. Which country sent you again? There are many people who want to assassinate the king, and this one is also a relatively capable one who can get here. It's a pity that he is unlucky and has to be like the previous assassin. Are you Zhao Gao? Yun Tutu looked at Zhao Gao in surprise. He was so recognizable and less masculine than the guards next to him. Oh my God. She is so promising. Seeing a living servant. Zhao Gao is the #1 person beside Qin Shi Huang. Even Li Si has to call him Lord Zhao when he sees him. This person who appeared inexplicably actually called him by his name, which is really asking for death. A flash of murderous intent flashed through Zhao Gao's mind. What is that thing on your head? Is it so ugly that you can't even see anyone? With so many guards around him, Zhao Gao was naturally fearless. Yun Tutu also saw the mighty emperor who was reading a bamboo scroll behind Zhao Gao. She swallowed nervously and didn't answer Zhao Gao's words, but shouted to Ing Zhang, "My lord, the first emperor, I'm here to give you a map." Ing Zhang looked up at her in surprise and was interested in his strange appearance. The first emperor. This title is interesting. Zhao Gao laughed shrilly. You're here to give me a map again. Don't you know what happened to Jingqi? Where did this fool come from? Jingqi was killed by his guards, and everyone who had heard of it knew it. But there are still people who are not afraid of death and use the map as an excuse. I'm different, Master Qin Shi Huang. I'm from 1,000 years later. I'm here to give you a world map at the request of I want to mess with netizens. This is absolute nonsense. Zhao Gao waved his hand to signal the guards to capture the man, but the guards did not move. What's wrong with you? Don't disturb the king from reviewing memorials. Sir, we can't meet each other. The guards said this with full of shame and special fear. They didn't know if they could get out of here with their lives today. How can this be possible? Zhao Gao snorted coldly, snatched the bronze sword from the guard's hand, and took action himself, but unexpectedly, he was immediately rebounded and took 2 steps back. Ing Zhang had also come over at this moment, looking at Yun Tutu curiously. What do you mean? A sense of oppression came over him, and Yun Tutu found that his legs were a little weak, and his hands were tightly grasping the handlebars of the motorcycle. My lord, I really didn't lie. I really came from the future. Don't talk nonsense. Who are you? Why can't we beat you? Zhao Gao tried again, and sure enough, an invisible force bounced back. Your Majesty, do you want Gao to call in more guards? Ing Zhang waved his hand and looked at Yun Tutu with interest. Why can't they touch you? You can't hurt me. This is my unique way of protection. Yun Tutu didn't expect that Qin Shi Huang was more interested in the invisible protective shield on her body, but this was not the point. She got off the motorcycle, and the guards on the side stared at her closely. Now that she knew these people couldn't hurt her, Yun Tutu was more relaxed. This charming ancestor was really as recorded in history, nearly 2 meters tall, but younger and more handsome than the picture in the history book. Even though he looked young, he was also very majestic, infatuated. It was the first time that Yun Tutu saw such a living emperor, and it was Zulong. Her whole mind was in excitement. She put down the backpack on her back. It hurt her shoulders from carrying so much books all the way here. She hadn't carried such a full bag of books for a long time. Now even Zhao Gao looked at Yun Tutu with caution, fearing that the man in front of him would pull out a weapon like Jing Lu did. My lord, the first emperor, I really came here to give you a map. The first emperor? Ing Zhang looked at the villain, who dared not show his face. Are you addressing me? Yun Tutu. She quickly contacted Song Song in her mind. What time is it now? If the king of Qin didn't know that he was the first emperor, did it mean that he had not yet completed the unification? In 227 BC, Song Song said with a hint of mischief, according to historical records, Qin Shi Huang had just experienced the tragic historical event of the assassination of the king of Qin by Jing Shi. The body of the last person who presented the map has not yet been buried, and you are here again. Yun Tutu's forehead was gray, and she gritted her teeth and said, You really know how to choose the time for me. Song Song, I didn't know it was such a coincidence that I happened to get it at this point, but you have to thank me, otherwise you wouldn't even have a chance to speak now. Listen to me say thank you. Yun Tutu is very lucky now. When she came in just now, she was so scared that she didn't take off her helmet. I think the expression on her face now is also very interesting. Forget it. Since we are here, we might as well make the best of it. Otherwise, what else can we do? Yun Tutu smiled bitterly and opened his backpack, first taking out the palm globe he had bought before. This thing only cost 12 yuan, didn't take up much space, and could help you understand the world more intuitively. This is a globe. Your Majesty can take a look first. Yun Tutu didn't dare to call him the first emperor anymore. After all, he hadn't completed the unification yet, and called himself the first emperor. He wanted to hand it to Zhao Gao, but thinking of what this future prime minister had done, he stuffed it directly into the hands of the guard. Take it. I only have this one. The guard was holding the thing in his hand, at a loss, until Ing Zhang said, Give it to me. Zhao Gao wanted to stop him. Your Majesty, beware of fraud. Ing Zhang glanced at him. It was just a palm-sized thing. What fraud could there be? Taking the globe from the guard, Yun Tutu asked, What is this? It was so small, but it was made very delicately. This is a world map, but it's a scaled-down version, which may affect the viewing experience. I have a bigger one here. Yun Tutu didn't waste any words, opened the trunk, and stuffed the world map into the hands of the guard just now. The guard looked at her in horror. Why did this person of unknown origin always choose him? Yun Tutu quickly raised the map with an innocent look. Look, I really don't hide anything here, and it won't hurt the king. The strange touch made the guard more cautious. He looked at it from front to back and wondered what it was made of. He could draw on it. At Ing Zheng's signal, the guard quickly presented the picture, but he didn't notice that Zhao Gao's eyes looked at him even colder. Yun Tutu saw all this and sighed deeply. Her unintentional action just now might have harmed the guard in front of her. She hoped that the first emperor would believe her words later. Wonderful, wonderful, Ing Zheng praised repeatedly. Although he did not recognize the words on the map, he still knew the territory of Qin. He just did not expect that in addition to the 6 countries, there was such a vast land outside. Now he has conquered several territories of Zhao, Wei, and South Korea, but compared with the area on this map, it is simply not worth mentioning. Ing Zheng stared at the world map with shining eyes. If all of this were included in the territory of Qin, then it would be the true realization of great unification. What are you doing with this? Ing Zheng touched the map with both hands. It was clearer than the parchment scroll. Take a look at these again. Yun Tutu took out all the books in her bag, but she still left out the books of the past 5,000 years. She had already appeared here, which meant that history would change and a new dimension would be created. What are these? Even Zhao Gao was curiously staring at the books she placed on the ground. He had always been by the king's side and had seen all kinds of rare things, but he had no idea what this kid who had appeared out of nowhere had taken out. This ability to appear out of nowhere and his bizarre origin made him feel a little uneasy for no reason. This time, there was no need for the guards to pass the books around, as Ing Zheng had already come to Yun Tutu. Yun Tutu saw the trembling guards on the side and did not embarrass them. She raised each book she took so that they could see clearly that there were only white papers inside. These are all books, and they are all paper, like the bamboo tubes you record in, but mine are easier to carry. Ing Zheng flipped through the books. He couldn't understand the words on them, but it didn't mean he couldn't understand them. Such simple and neat papers were densely covered with words. If they were replaced with their seal scripts and memorials, he wouldn't have to review more than 100 kilograms of bamboo slips every day. The books in the palace wouldn't take up so much space. Every time he looked for some documents, he had to search for a long time. Okay, very good. As an emperor, he immediately realized that this was a great thing for Daqin. Can you show your true face to people? He heard a female voice under the mask, but Ing Zheng was still willing to give enough respect to him for presenting him with this treasure. Yun Tutu took off her helmet without hesitation, with a confident smile on her fair and delicate face. She was a little scared before, but now that she is sure that these ancient people can't hurt her at all, she is calm. Your Majesty, I am your descendant from thousands of years later. Yun Tutu felt that there was nothing wrong with calling herself that. We are all descendants of Yin and Huang, not to mention that everyone respects Qin Shi Huang as a charming ancestor. So, if you cut in dice, it is true that I am a descendant. My descendant? Ing Zheng looked at the girl in front of him. She was pretty, but not as good as the princess in his own palace. You can say that Yun Tutu saw Qin Shi Huang at such a close distance and immediately changed from a fangirl to only thinking about presenting treasures. By the way, I also brought you some high-yield seeds. I'll take them out for you first. Coupled with the urging voice in her ear, Yun Tutu simply chose to ignore it. High-yield seeds. The book in Ing Zheng's hands suddenly became a little dull, and his eyes were fixed on Yun Tutu. If it is really a high-yield seed, I will reward you. He then made a unified plan. In addition to the warriors of the Qin dynasty, the competition was about national strength, and food was the top priority. Yun Tutu kept moving seeds out of the hanging boxes on both sides. Ing Zheng and Zhao Gao's eyes widened. A small box could actually hold so many things. Is there something wrong with their eyes? Your Majesty, this is a divine object. Zhao Gao's eyes were full of greed, and he looked at Yun Tutu with some ill intentions. Such a divine object, only Your Majesty is worthy of it. Ing Zheng glanced at him. Zhao Gao was usually loyal, but his vision and determination were not good. The little girl in front of him said that she was his descendant, and came to offer him treasures. How could he, as an ancestor, treat her badly, let alone have the intention of plundering her? The most important point is that he saw it clearly from behind just now. They couldn't do anything to this little girl, so they couldn't make the relationship awkward. As the king of Qin, he also needed face. Zhao Gao, go and tell Prince Fusu to come over. Zhao Gao. Okay. Yun Tutu cleared out all her things, and a small mountain of things had piled up around her. Seeing Zhao Gao leave, Yun Tutu remembered that there were more important things to do, and quickly took out her mobile phone from her pocket. My lord, I have a small video here. Take a look first. Yun Tutu clicked on the video she had downloaded before, and before handing it over, she said, "You have to keep your emotions stable." She only had this one mobile phone now, and she hadn't bought a new one yet, so she couldn't let it get broken. Ying Zhang glanced at the unfamiliar seed next to him, wondering what other surprises this girl in front of him would give him. Yun Tutu quickly clicked on the video she had downloaded before and clicked play. Ying Zhang only saw this magical thing emitting light and some patterns flashing, and before he could even see it clearly, he saw a magical scene. A middle-aged man in a black crown stepped onto the altar with an attitude that looked down on the world. I unified the 6 kingdoms, built the Great Wall, and stabilized the 9 states. I defended my great Qin and protected my country. I swear here in the name of the first emperor that I will defend the land and expand the borders, pacify the 4 barbarians, and establish the foundation of my great Qin for eternity. After I die, I will turn into a dragon soul to protect China forever. This oath is witnessed by the sun and the moon, witnessed by the heaven and earth, and heard by the immortals, demons, ghosts, and gods. Yun Tutu smiled awkwardly when he heard this. First emperor. I clicked the wrong button. Ying Zhang looked at the video on his phone. Are these what I said? Is the person in hear me? Although he didn't look like himself at all, Ying Zhang had this feeling. Yun Tutu, this is what you said, Great Emperor Qin Shi Huang, but that was all about unifying the 6 kingdoms. Did you really unify the 6 kingdoms? Of course, Yun Tutu really didn't know how to answer and could only look at him cautiously. The king of Qin had not unified the 6 kingdoms yet, but his aura was quite intimidating. There are other videos. I'll show you. Ying Zhang had some confidence in Yun Tutu's origin. He could see from the other party's eyes that he had no malice towards him and even admired him. My life? Ying Zhang was also very curious. It seemed that he was really destined to be like that and could know his life in advance. In 247 BC, 13-year-old Ying Zheng ascended the throne. He had long had the idea of unifying the world. The previous generations of Qin kings had already laid a solid foundation for him. At this time, after Shang Yang's reforms, and under the management of successive Qin kings, Qin's comprehensive national strength had already far surpassed the other 6 countries. However, although Ying Zhang became the 37th monarch of Qin, he was unable to exercise his power and realize his grand wish of unifying the world. Because at this time, national affairs were all decided by a man named Lu Buwei. The young Ying Zhang even had to respectfully address him as Zhongfu. After hearing the previous introduction, Ying Zhang clenched his palms, and some bad memories came to his mind. He didn't want to hear this, but he was more curious about what happened next. Lu Buwei, who was born as a businessman, became a powerful official who controlled the whole country. The reason why he could reach his current position was closely related to the impoverished prince of Qin State whom he sponsored in Zhao State. During the reign of King Zhaosheng of Qin, Qin and Zhao had fierce conflicts. In order to ease the relationship between the 2 countries, the Qin court planned to select one of the royal children to go to Zhao State as a hostage. Because the crown prince of Qin died early, his descendants did not have a suitable candidate. So after the second son of King Zhao, Nguojun Yingzhu, was appointed as the crown prince, one of his descendants was named Ying Yiren. Because his mother Xiaji was born in a lowly family, she was not favored by the crown prince, so under the arrangement of other clan members, the task of going to Zhao as a hostage fell on Ying Yiren. The relationship between Qin and Zhao was not friendly. Although he was a prince of the Qin royal family in name, his life was very difficult and he was looked down upon everywhere. At this time, Lu Buwei, a businessman who had already achieved financial freedom, turned his attention to him. Not only did he give him money and gifts, He even gave him Zhao Ji, who was good at dancing. Zhao Ji gave birth to a baby boy soon after. Because he was born in the first month of the year, he was named Yingzheng. The guards on the side lowered their heads. Could they listen to this? Yun Tutu scratched his head, thinking that the past was going to be dug up again, which seemed really inappropriate. He didn't care about his previous fear and went to Yingzheng's side. You don't have to listen to what happened before. Let's see what happens later. Yingzheng. If it wasn't useful to keep it, he would have been dragged out and torn to pieces. He handed the thing in his hand to Yun Tutu, but Yun Tutu hurriedly pulled the progress bar from 230 BC to 221 BC. He successively destroyed the 6 countries of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi, completed the great cause of unifying China, established the Qin dynasty, and called himself the first emperor. The 3 dukes and 9 ministers were implemented in the central government, and the feudal system was abolished in the local area, replaced by the county system. At the same time, the currency, weights, and measures were unified. The same track for vehicles, same writing for books, same ethics for people, and the rules and regulations were implemented. Externally, he attacked the Xiongnu in the north, conquered the Baiyue in the south, built the Great Wall, built the Lingxiu Canal, and connected the Yangtze River and Pearl River systems. In his later years, he carried out many large-scale projects during his reign, including the construction of the Great Wall, the Afong Palace, and the Nishan Mausoleum. In 210 BC, he died in the sand dunes of Xingtai during his eastern tour. Qin Shi Huang laid the foundation for the autocratic political structure in Chinese political history for more than 2,000 years, and was once praised by the Ming dynasty thinker Li Zhu as the greatest emperor of all time. Yingzheng's pupils shrank slightly when he saw the latter, and he could only say that it was good news and bad news. He completed the Great Unification and unified the 6 kingdoms, but he only had 17 years left to live, but he soon let it go. He finally fulfilled the wishes of his ancestors, and he was satisfied to be evaluated so by future generations. As long as my great Qin can last for thousands of years, that is enough. Here is another small video. Yun Tutu mustered up his courage and clicked on another video. The second emperor of Qin, 232-07 BC, surnamed Ying, named Hu Hai, was born in Xianyang, now Xianyang, Shaanxi. He was the 18th son of Qin Shi Huang and the younger brother of Prince Fusu. He was called the second emperor. Qin Ershi studied under Zhao Gao, the minister of the imperial chariots. Qin Shi Huang died of illness on the platform of Shakiyu Palace while traveling in the south. The death was kept secret. With the help of Zhao Gao and Li Si, the edict was tampered with. Hu Hai succeeded to the throne and killed more than 20 brothers and sisters. After ascending the throne, Zhao Gao took the real power and implemented a brutal rule, which finally aroused the uprising of Qin Shang and Wu Guang, and the restoration movement of the old nobles of the 6 countries. In 207 BC, Hu Hai was forced to commit suicide in Wangyi Palace by Yin Lu, a confidant of Zhao Gao. He died at the age of 24. At this point, Qin too died. What about Fusu? Where is Fu? Yingzheng gritted his teeth. He had always placed great hopes on Fusu and had been teaching him all these years. Because he opposed the killing of more than 460 people who violated the ban, he angered Yu and was sent to Shangjuan to supervise the army and assist General Meng Tian in building the Great Wall and resisting the Huns. Yun Tutu looked at Yingzheng cautiously and found that he seemed to be in a relatively stable mood, but he also quietly took 2 steps back. You died of illness. Before your death, you ordered Prince Fusu to ascend the throne. The minister of the Central Chariot House Zhao Gao and Prime Minister Li Si and others were afraid that Fusu would be disadvantageous to them after ascending the throne. So they helped Hu Hai ascend the throne and issued an edict to kill Prince Fusu as the first emperor. Prince Fusu mistook it for the truth and dared not disobey his father's wishes, so he committed suicide. Stupid, stupid. Yingzheng was overwhelmed with emotions at this moment. How could he have such a stupid son? And Zhao Gao and Li Si, they all deserved to die. They actually dared to change the edict. As for the 18th son Hu Hai, the government is controlled by Zhao Gao. Hu Hai has no choice? Oh, Yun Tutu could only sneer. It seems that all parents in the world are the same. Even the first emperor is no exception to his favorite 18th son. The first person he thinks of is someone else. It's a pity that I came in a hurry before and didn't download a few. Hesitantly, he spoke based on his memory. Zhao Gao was Hu Hai's teacher. When Hu Hai succeeded to the throne, Zhao Gao's power naturally increased. The reason why Zhao Gao chose Hu Hai was because Hu Hai was a pure son of a rich family and was easy to control. Giving Fu Su the crime of disloyalty and filial piety and letting Meng Tian commit suicide was just the beginning. Next, with Hu Hai's tacit approval, Zhao Gao slaughtered all the royal children, and finally only he was left. The means were so cruel. Ing Zhang did not ask any further questions. He was afraid that he could not bear it and could not endure it, but he had already made a decision about Hu Hai. Yun Tutu looked at Ing Zhang. Hu Hai lives a dissolute life, only caring about his own enjoyment. The government is controlled by Zhao Gao, and he wants to emulate you and travel around the world. Wherever he goes, he makes people live in misery. At the instigation of Zhao Gao, he indiscriminately executed a group of officials. The officials' resentment grew, and the people's lives became more and more difficult. These two people are still continuing their power game. The people's grievances soon reached a boiling point, and popular resistance broke out. Yun Tutu heard Song Song urging in his ears again, and hurriedly took out the small seal illustrations. The text on it can be queried from it, so these books can be read without any obstacles. Ing Zhang then saw Yun Tutu taking books out of the box non-stop. Ing Zhang didn't want to believe it, but with the sudden appearance of this woman in front of him and this unheard-of thing, it was hard for him not to believe it. Zhao Gao had been serving him loyally all these years, but now he had given him some rights. He was his close minister, and what future generations said might really happen. And Li Si, he was a member of the legalist school, while Fu Su had always followed Confucianism. For the power in his hands, he might really do this. As for Hu Hai, although he is still a child now, if Zhao Gao intended to guide him, these things might happen in the future. The first emperor, Yun Tutu, emptied the medicine when he moved it out, and then continued, "Don't believe in those immortal elixirs in the future, they are all scams." Ing Zhang was a little puzzled. Why did this future grandson mention this? Yun Tutu, according to records, when you were old, you wanted to live forever. So you announced to the world that whoever could find the elixir of immortality would be rewarded. There was an alchemist named Su Fu who began to refine the so-called elixir for you. But those elixirs were poisonous. Not only could they not prolong your life, but they were also death warrants. These alchemists also knew that these elixirs were not to be taken, and they were afraid that you would punish them if the truth was revealed in the end. So they wrote to you, saying that there were 3 immortal mountains in the sea, namely Panglai, Fangzhong, and Yingzhou, and that immortals lived in all 3 mountains. If you could find them, you would find the elixir of immortality. Not only that, Su Fu also asked you for thousands of boys and girls, and prepared 3 years of food, clothing, medicines, and farming tools to go into the sea to seek immortality. He took away a lot of money, but reproduced his descendants on this small island. Yun Tutu pointed to the location of a small day. This darn Su Fu. Not only did he deceive you, but he also developed an island country here. More than 2,000 years later, this island country killed tens of millions of our Chinese people and looted countless treasures and property. Ing Zheng's face turned ugly. Someone actually dared to deceive him here. He didn't expect that because of him, this land would suffer such hardships in the future. And that darn Su Fu, he must be found. I will tear him into pieces. These are the records of later generations, Ing Zheng thought more. The little girl in front of him was full of kindness to him, but she seemed to be concealing something when she spoke. Yun Tutu, you still have to be careful of Zhang Liang. He was born in a Korean family. After Korea was destroyed, he hated the loss of his country and found a strong man. When he learned that you were about to tour the East, he planned to assassinate you in Belingsha. Although he did not succeed this time, then he will definitely not succeed. Ing Zheng said this with full confidence. Since he was preparing to unify the 6 countries, he knew that he would attract some enemies, and the guards around him had already prepared. You specifically mentioned this person, but what else is so outstanding about him? Yun Tutu almost knelt down. Zulong was really amazing. He was so sensitive to it. During the Peasant War at the end of the Qin dynasty, Zhang Liang gathered people to rise up against the Qin dynasty and later joined Liu Bang. who later established the new Han dynasty. Yun Tutu looked at Ing Zheng and saw that he looked calm, and he admired him even more. No wonder he could be recorded in history. The thoughts in his mind were not something that small people like them could understand. Zhang Liang became one of Liu Bang's important advisors. He once advised Liu Bang to humble himself and make peace to preserve his strength. Zhang Liang proposed to Liu Bang the strategy of gathering the three kings to fight against the overlord, which successfully helped Liu Bang defeat Xiang Yu. Liu Bang commented on him in Nangong, Luoyang. In terms of planning strategies behind the curtains and winning battles thousands of miles away, I am not as good as Zifeng. Later generations respected his outstanding strategy and called him the Sage of Strategy. The Sage of Strategy, Ing Zheng muttered, "It's a pity that I destroyed the kingdom of Han, so it is destined that I can't use him." The death of Qin Tu may also be related to the nobles of these 6 countries. Yun Tutu nodded. Qin Shi Huang had been cursed for so long. If Ing Zheng was really a tyrant, the nobles of these 6 countries would still be alive to rebel. The main reason was that Hu Hai's administration was too absurd, which caused chaos in the world. Qin Shang rebelled and proclaimed himself king. There was also Xiang Liang, who established a descendant of the Chu state as King Huai of Chu and recruited Xiang Yu, Liu Bang, and others. Liu Bang was an emperor? I have heard this name several times from this later generation. To Liu Bang, courtesy named Ji, from Pei County. Yun Tutu prayed silently for Liu Bang in her heart. Although she also liked the Han dynasty, the Qin dynasty would evolve into a new parallel dimension in the future, and only Liu Bang in this dimension would be affected. Liu Bang, listen to me, thank you. I let you kill me, Liu Ji. Yun Tutu said nothing and briefly talked about Liu Ji's life. Liu Bang still has a group of people under him, such as the great General Han Xian, the future military genius, and Fan Kuai, Zhou, and other fierce generals. Yun Tutu wanted to continue, but the urging voice of the Cinder appeared again. I have said all that I can say. I hope these books can help you. That was all Yun Tutu could think of in such a short time. She cleared out all the things and then reached out to take back her mobile phone. Ing Zheng thought she was going to show him something again, so he handed the phone back to her. When he saw her casually put the phone in her bag, her calm face finally showed a slight change. Now I have delivered the goods. Except for a world map that was entrusted by someone, the rest are my personal aid. Now, King Qin, please complete this transaction with me. Transaction? Aren't you here to offer treasures? Yun Tutu understood Ing Zheng's thoughts at this moment. Your Majesty, there are so many things. Shouldn't you give some rewards? Qin Shi Huang should feel more comfortable if he said that. As an emperor, whoever makes a deal with him can only get their rewards. Ing Zheng habitually wanted Zhao Gao to prepare, and when the words came to his lips, he directly pointed to another servant. Go to my inner storehouse to find some treasures. Yun Tutu's eyes sparkled, and the island where Su Fu passed by. There are many benefits to getting rid of it. In addition to not harassing the people around, there is also a gold and silver mine on the island with a large reserve, which can be used as a reserve for our mainland. Ing Zheng became more concerned. Gold and silver mines? It's really necessary to take this place. The servants were very fast. They didn't know how much His Majesty needed, but the dozen servants were already full. Here are the jades and swords for tribute. Ing Zheng took a look and was quite satisfied. This was also one of the best collections in his warehouse. You can take the other small things to enjoy. Looking at those bronze swords, as well as the Buki Gue, Gua Gua, Jizi by plate, etc., would it really be a punishment to take these things back? It is probably a punishment. Just when I was thinking about whether to let Ing Zheng exchange some easier to sell, otherwise I would really have to cry. I heard transaction completed. Return immediately. Ing Zheng only felt a flash of white light, and the guards on the side protected him firmly. When he opened his eyes again, in addition to the pile of objects on the ground, Yun Tutu had disappeared, as well as the strange mount. Where is the person? Ing Zheng shouted angrily. He still had many questions to ask. Why did this person disappear? The little servant on the side said timidly, Your Majesty, the treasures are gone too. They were clearly in their hands just now. How come in the blink of an eye, there was nothing left in their hands? At this time, Zhao Gao brought Fusu in. Your Majesty, Prince Fusu is here. Ing Zheng looked up at Zhao Gao. Come on, take Zhao Gao down and put him in jail. Yes, the guards took action and controlled Zhao Gao and blocked his mouth. Fusu, sir, what's wrong? The Lord has always been satisfied with Zhao Gao and has entrusted many things to him. Fusu stays, and everyone else leaves. Yes, even the guards who were originally guarding the palace left at this moment. Sir? Fusu was a little puzzled. What did the Lord mean? Or did she do something wrong these days? Zhang pointed to the pile of books and grains on the ground and said, "Move all these to the warehouse in the back for me." Fusu looked at his clean white robe. He did not dare to disobey Zhang and worked silently. The Lord was really wrong today. Not only did he punish Zhao Gao, but he also asked him to do these jobs. He felt a little aggrieved, but he endured it. If he dared to cry, the Lord would definitely be unhappy. Zhang looked at him in a daze. Fusu was his first son, and he had high hopes for him. In order for him to succeed the throne of Qin in the future, he specially asked the great Confucian scholars to cultivate him carefully. How did those darn Confucianists teach his Fusu? He had no doubts about a will? It seems that he was too relaxed with this son in the past. He should keep him by his side and teach him more in the future. As for the world map presented to him by later generations, he just kept it in his heart. He personally took it to the back storehouse and put it away. He didn't even unify the 6 kingdoms, let alone other things. He got too much information today, and Zhang felt that he should sort it out carefully. There are also these books and seeds that need to be dealt with as soon as possible. Now that he has the Xiaozhuan comparison chart, the texts of later generations are not a problem. When he finds someone to rewrite it carefully, it will be his Qin's opportunity. As for the missing girl, she can appear this time, and she will definitely come again next time. At that time, she must stay and find out more information. Yun Tutu felt a little disappointed when she saw the familiar alley. She still had a lot to say. This is not the right time. I stayed in Pingyang Marquee Mansion for a long time last time. Why are you bringing me back in such a hurry this time? Don't you have any idea in your mind? You have derived a new dimension from a good history. If I hadn't taken you away quickly, we would both have to die there now. Is it that serious? Yun Tutu was shocked. Remember, you didn't say that before. This is the first time I've encountered this. Song's voice was full of fear. History also split at that moment. You and I are the culprits. We don't belong to that time and space. Once discovered, we will be wiped out. Don't be so reckless in the future. If you are not careful, you may lose your life. Yun Tutu was also a little scared when she heard this. She didn't want to lose her life in a different time and space. But why did these words sound wrong? Isn't this all your responsibility? You took the order, and you also said that it would be derived into a new plane. Shouldn't you know all this first? It seemed to be true. Song felt a little guilty. He just didn't expect that a plane derived from it would have such a great destructive power. Just now you meant that the great Qin Empire will have another direction in the future. Yun Tutu really wanted to scream. If that was true, then the derived new plane wouldn't have to study English so hard, and it could also be a disguised revenge in its daily life. Even if the Qin dynasty could not be passed down for thousands of years, the matter of the treasure mountain in the small island country would definitely not be hidden. That would be interesting. What did the ancients need to mine? They had to occupy it first, and then they needed a large number of workers. Don't stand there and giggle. Carry the things inside first. Song waited until she parked the car in the yard and saw that she didn't respond for a long time, then saw someone sitting on the motorcycle and laughing. Can't you stop breaking my fantasy so quickly? Yun Tutu said unhappily, remember to move the time back when you locate that plane for me next time. This darn Song took her to the date when Jing Qi assassinated the king of Qin, and even though she was protected by a layer of shield, she was still frightened. And your operation is really stupid. You knew I was going to give you a map, but you had to hit such a sensitive spot. No wonder my Qin Shi Huang ignored me. If it was any other time, maybe we could have talked more. I was lucky that I was not dragged down and punished. Song. This was really a momentary mistake, and it might also be related to the map. But you should be glad that it was after Jing Shi assassinated the king of Qin. If it was before that, have you thought about the consequences? Yun Tutu felt a chill on her back. The first emperor would definitely believe that the other party really came to present the map. If she was not prepared, Jing Qian might succeed. Then, let alone being the greatest emperor in history, she would have to bear this eternal crime. But there is another good news. In the future, as long as their new plane has a need, we can still go there and will no longer be subject to these restrictions. Yun Tutu did not understand this principle. She only knew that she could continue to see the first emperor. Even if Qin Shi Huang developed in another plane, after all, he was still the ancestor of the Chinese people and branched out from here. She was very happy that he could help. When she opened the trunk and saw the things inside, she didn't dare to reach out to touch them. Is it really okay to bring these things back? Most of them were bronze pieces, and the others were jade. One of them looked very much like the Husher Bai. Is this the Husher Bai? Song Song said. What are you thinking? This is a piece of jade. If you don't understand, go to Baidu and check it. That's good. Yun Tutu patted her chest. Is it really safe to put these things in my house? Yun Tutu opened the security door. She had seen a locksmith easily open this door lock. So every time she went in and out, she would lock the door. She didn't know if this would work, but it would give her a little peace of mind. Look at the balance in your phone. With your current financial resources, you can definitely buy a house with a higher safety factor. Buy a house? Yun Tutu didn't even dare to think about it before, but after spending more than half of her gold, she can now be said to be a wealthy woman. Wait, a house in this first-tier city is not something that a young social animal like her can buy. She can't even meet the regulations for buying a house here. I can't buy a house even if I have money, Yun Tutu said with her head down. Now she really has the frustration of having money but not being able to spend it. That's true. Song Song searched for relevant information. If it doesn't work, you can change to another city. There are many places with no purchase restrictions, and there are people coming and going here. Every time I want to find a deserted spot, I have to spend energy. Although the energy is very little, there is a saying that a mosquito is meat no matter how small it is. Although it doesn't know the taste of meat, it also understands the meaning. Yun Tutu looked at the small house in front of him and asked, "But where can I buy a house?" You can go back to your original city. Although it's only a county-level city, you have savings now and other income in the future. You can live comfortably in a small place, as you said, without any pressure. Song Song really couldn't understand the thoughts of these people. Why do so many people like to crowd into one place? A very ordinary house here can be a big villa if you go back to a small place. Yun Tutu was also tempted. If she really goes back to buy a house, she can let her grandparents and parents move in. This way, she won't have to deal with those parents' quarrels all day long. But this won't work. Who will her grandparents spend time with? Living in that old community, although there are many things to do, they are all old colleagues of her grandparents. Although everyone likes to compare, these people are really helpful when there is something. Anyway, her feelings towards the old community are very complicated. When she was sick before, those grandparents also lent a helping hand, but this did not prevent them from talking about her behind her back. Oh, it's too difficult. It's not like you haven't been weaned, Song Song said sarcastically. Can't you live alone? Aren't you doing well now? You don't understand. Yun Tutu carefully placed everything on the table, closed the door, and poured herself a glass of water. Now it's a world of personal relationships. Just because I'm willing doesn't mean that the elders at home will agree. The most important point is, do you think you can tell others about the work I'm doing now? Yun Tutu stroked the bronze sword on the table. Other people may not know, but how could my family not know? This is an unknown income. Song Song was really stumped by her question. It couldn't explain either. And these things, how are you going to sell them? Yun Tutu carefully picked up the jade ornaments again. Could they be ordinary items that could be delivered to the first emperor? These are not gold ingots. If I take these things out casually, I will be dragged and investigated thoroughly. Song Song, don't be so pessimistic. Didn't you resell all the gold before? All the transactions were completed in this plane. Yun Tutu asked back, could you put these things in other planes? Song Song, that can't be possible. That would consume a lot of energy, and it doesn't have that ability now. Yun Tutu tapped the table with his fingers, so we have to talk it over. You will need me to do many tasks in the future, and these things cannot be traded. We can't just bury them, right? Not impossible. Then what about my reward? Yun Tutu continued to ask. You will give me all these as compensation? How is that possible? I don't have the money? No way. He just collected such a small fee before. Yun Tutu is going to double it back. What do you say we should do with these things here? If someone finds out, it will be really terrible. Song Song felt like it was about to crash. How could it know what to do? Yun Tutu, let's make a deal. If we continue like this and encounter some strange planes again, I won't be able to deal with them alone. There are some strange transactions that I can't complete. After all, I'm just an ordinary citizen and I don't have many things. That I won't accept transactions that cannot be completed. Yun Tutu continued to pursue. Do you believe what you said? What happened this time? You almost lost my life. Song Song didn't say anything else. After a long while, he asked, then what good ideas do you have? I have to find a backer, and a big backer. Yun Tutu only had a framework idea before, but now she has made a decision. If Song Song doesn't agree, she can only passively slack off in the future. Looking for a backer. You want help, right? Song Song knew that this meant that he would also be known to others, so he was a little unhappy. You know, if 2 people knew it, it would be a secret, but if 3 people knew it, it would be almost known to everyone. If you can't even match the goods, others will definitely be able to do it. Besides, the difference in energy between sending 1 person and sending 2 people is too great. I can't do it now. Yun Tutu, who said anything about cooperating with an individual. I think I understand what you mean. Aren't you afraid of being taken away and sliced? Yun Tutu, no, there is still a big difference in the effect of slicing and not slicing. Not to mention that I believe that our flower-growing family will not harm its citizens. Are you sure about that? Song Song had actually found out that Yun Tutu had such an idea a long time ago, but at that time he thought it was just an idea. I'm sure. Yun Tutu stared at the table in a daze, because I'm afraid that what I bring back next time will be uncontrollable, and I can't afford it. Song Song fell into silence. He really couldn't guarantee this. After a long silence, Song Song said, I'll contact them. Song Song figured it out. Instead of being worried here, it's better to take a gamble. Yun Tutu's worries are not unreasonable. He can't guarantee that if he separates from Yun Tutu, the next person who signs the contract will have the same idea. The people in this plane seem to care about their homeland and trust it very much. It doesn't mind taking a gamble. If it wins, it may be more successful in collecting energy. If it loses, it will just consume all its energy and continue to wander the world. Wait, I'll take pictures of these so that it will be more convincing. Yun Tutu quickly picked up her phone. When you contact me, send these pictures as well. Yun Tutu said that it was inappropriate to leave these things here. If they got bumped, she would not be able to afford the compensation even if she sold them. Send them all? Song Song did not understand the thoughts of these humans. He looked like a profiteer before, but now he is so righteous. Send them all? Send them all? Yun Tutu closed her eyes after taking the pictures, fearing that she would feel heartbroken. The heavily guarded office building suddenly became restless. Quick, notify the technical department and have them come over to see if our firewall has been attacked. The secretaries in the office all took action, some trying to save themselves, some looking for help. At this moment, a whole page of text suddenly flashed on the screen, and everyone immediately gathered around. After reading it, the Secretary General immediately asked the entire office to calm down and ordered no one on the scene to leave and report the situation. Then, another link appeared, and the Secretary General was very curious, but did not dare to click it. When another group of people came in, the whole office was sealed off. What's going on now? Are you sure this isn't a joke? Could it be a prank by foreign forces? Everyone was talking about it, obviously not believing what was said on the screen. We don't know. The Secretary General found a backbone when he saw so many leaders coming. There is also a link that appeared, but we dare not open it. No one knows what is inside. What if it is Pandora's box? Several leaders discussed it and finally found technicians. After many attempts, they finally opened the link. Everyone had been holding their heads, and when they saw the content, their eyes widened. Whose prank is this? They took so many photos of imitation cultural relics and sent them over. Could it be some illegal counterfeiting gang? It's no wonder they would guess like that. Looking at these bronze swords and jade jewelry, they all look like items from the Qin and Han dynasties. The only difference is that these are very new and don't look like cultural relics. One of the people who had some knowledge of cultural relics came closer. When he saw the exquisite patterns on it, he thought for a moment and said, "It doesn't look fake, but I don't know why it's so new. Could it be that the things on the document are real? How is that possible? How is it possible for someone to travel through time and space?" Someone sneered, "I think it's just a prank by some people. They can drop things here, which is a naked provocation. Where are the technical personnel? How are they there? Have you caught up with them? Wait, there's more below." The Secretary General operated and pulled down. A young girl appeared in front of them with a youthful smile, as if she was silently watching them. A personal resume followed. This? The Secretary General glanced at everyone. She's not very old. She's a freshman from a second-tier university. It's impossible for her to do such a prank. Those truly talented students would never hang around in a second-tier university. The technicians over there have also tracked down the address, pointing to the contact address above and saying, "It's confirmed that the IP we tracked down is the same as the address she provided here." Do you think what she said here is true? If she can really travel through the universe, then it's a great opportunity for us. The leader pointed at the table and guessed, "He left this secret on purpose for us to find." With the security level of their office building, it is not something that ordinary hackers can get in. They went to so much trouble to send them this document. If they just wanted to make a presence, they might be able to follow the clues based on this address. Everyone present should sign a confidentiality agreement and notify Team Young to come over. Since this has already happened, they should investigate it. It is not their style to sit and wait for the truth to come out. The people below acted quickly, and the entire secretariat returned to normal in less than half an hour. Yun Tutu held her chin up and looked at the treasures on the table. "You have already notified them, so when will they come?" The longer she waited, the hungrier she got. It was not even time for dinner yet, but she had already ordered takeout and did not dare to leave the house. That's not clear. Song Song did not care about these things. She was struggling with the computer and was about to rush to the next level. "Then tell me, can you change an employee in the future?" Yun Tutu brought this up and began to think about this problem. The computer paused, and then Song Song screamed, "It's over. How can you distract me at this critical moment? I finally got to this level, and now I have to start over again. Didn't you say before that you could do two things at the same time?" Yun Tutu pouted. Song Song's skills were not good enough, so he blamed her. "Who told you that this problem is so big?" Song Song turned into a screen again. This time, there was no text on the screen, but a virtual puppet appeared instead. A voice also came out of the screen. "Don't forget, we have a contract. How can you have such an idea?" Yun Tutu pointed at the puppet on the screen and said in surprise, "How can you have such a form?" Yun Tutu felt that he had been fooled before. "Before, you pretended to be mysterious and showed text. Oh, now you are not mysterious anymore?" The puppet inside turned around. With a smug tone in his tone, "The energy is not very sufficient now. Otherwise, I can change the form according to my own ideas." "Energy?" Yun Tutu stood up suddenly. "You used all the energy from the last mission on yourself? Why not?" The doll continued to spin. It was finally not an ethereal thing. It now had its own shape. "See if it is as cute as you said." "How is it cute? It's just a doll. Why don't you turn into a kitten?" Yun Tutu pouted. "Have you used up all your energy? There's only a little bit left. Didn't we agree that you would upgrade my car when the time comes? Why are you still thinking about my little energy now? Didn't you say you wanted me to change an employee?" Yun Tutu said, "These are two different things. I just asked if you can do it. You humans love to quibble over words. I tell you, it's impossible. Did it think that it didn't have to pay a price to sign a contract with an employee? If it terminated the contract with Yun Tutu, it would have to wander in the world for a long time. I don't remember how long it wandered before finding such a compatible person. In short, it is impossible to terminate the contract before it gains the energy to find the God of creation. Why do you think so?" Song Song thought of the principles of getting along between leaders and employees that he had seen before. It seems that he should care about the health of employees. We have only cooperated for a few times, so there should be no quarrels between the two parties. You have also gained 1,000 times the profit, so are you dissatisfied with other aspects? Yun Tutu thought for a while before saying, "No, I am just an ordinary person. If someone from above really came to contact me, I would think that there are so many talented people in my flower-growing family, and there must be someone more suitable than me."